Hello, good morning, and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today, on our last day on the Azure and AI, Azure and Entra stage. Sorry, Azure AI is the topic today. One of the topics. So, welcome, Kim Berg, with a keynote navigating the Azure AI seas. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning, afternoon, or whatever time it is all around the world where you are. I'm super thrilled to be here today on the last day of the M365 Con. And today I will be talking about something that is not just shaping our industry, it's really redefining it. And it's going to be about Azure AI. So I'm calling this session Navigating the Azure AI Seas, because let's face it, the AI landscape today is vast, dynamic, and sometimes a little bit overwhelming. But with the right tools and compass, we can chart a course that's not only exciting, but deeply impactful as well. Some of the parts I will be covering today and going through is something that is covered in our latest report. So it is like the top tech trends of 2026. So my role, I work as the CTO for Data and AI for Society Sweden, which is part of the Capgemini Group. So this research and report is done by our research institute, and it covers the latest trends, what we think is going to trend in 2026. But before we get into that, a little bit more, who am I then? Well, on my spare time, I really love to dance and do all sorts of outdoors activities. So I do dance practices 4 times a week. I live in Sweden, so a lot of hiking, fishing, that sort of thing. And I do it in the winter, as you can see in the picture as well. So I camp out, even though it's like 15 degrees minus Celsius. I still do it because I love it. The nature is so beautiful here in Sweden. I have a little bit over, it's getting close to 1.5 decades in the tech industry now, with about 1 decade focusing on cloud and Azure then specifically. So I was quite early on the adoption of going into Azure. Outside of that, I do quite a lot of public speaking, just such as this. Usually travel around to different kinds of conferences all over the world. And also I contribute quite a lot to open source. And because of these last 2 things, I am a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, so MVP as it's called. And I do have it in 2 different kinds of categories. So it's both within AI and also within IoT. So I'm a dual category MVP. Yes, but let's get started a little bit. So to start it off, we are here now in 2026. And in our report, this is what we're calling the Year of Truth for AI. Why do we do that? Well, because after years of experimentation, pilots, and hype, AI is now expected to deliver real value. So yeah, you want measurable business value. It's no longer about like the flashy demos and the innovation theater. It's about embedding intelligence into the very fabric of our operations. So our products, our customer experience, all of it. And the numbers really do back it up. So today, nearly half of the software workforce are using generative AI tools. And by the end of the year, we think that number is probably going to hit somewhere around like 85% actually. So it's not just a trend, it's a transformation. And AI is really becoming the default capability that you can use. So one of the parts, and the catch is, having powerful models is not enough anymore. So the real differentiator isn't the model, it is the architecture. It's how you integrate, orchestrate, and govern AI across your systems. So it's the ability to run AI into durable, compounding business value in the end. And that's why today's session is focused on showcasing you how some of the Azure AI helps you to do exactly that. So we'll explore the full ocean of services, all the way from Azure AI Foundry, or Microsoft Foundry as it's called now, and the different kinds of Foundry tools you have within there. And I'll cover a little bit about some Azure machine learning parts as well. And we'll see how these tools comes in together to solve real-world problems in the end. So one of the most exciting shifts we're seeing is the move from isolated AI tools to what we're calling production-grade agentic systems. So think of it like this. Instead of having a single chatbot or model doing one thing, you now have orchestrated teams of AI agents. So each with a specific role, but they're working together and connected to the real enterprise data, and of course govern by clear rules. And Azure AI service and the Azure AI agent service specifically is built for this. So it lets you combine generative models with tools and data access, so AI agents actually can take action, not just answer questions. And as AI takes on more responsibility, of course, then we need to trust it. That's why observability and governance are non-negotiable. So we noted that companies are now building internal AI value offices, which dedicates teams to monitor the model behavior, track ROI, and ensure reliability. And actually, Azure is ahead of the curve here. So with tools like Azure Monitor for AI, you have content safety and the full Foundry observability stack. So because also in the end, navigating the AICs isn't just about speed, it's about safety, trust, and control. So on the journey ahead, the AICs are vast, but the trends are clear. We're moving from pilots to production, from isolated tools to orchestrated systems, and from hype to impact. And as we explore the Azure AICs today, it's worth anchoring ourselves a little bit into the Microsoft's broader vision for AI. So Microsoft sees AI not as the layer at the end, so you just don't add it at the end, but it is a foundational shift. So it's going to be embedded in every layer of the tech stack, and their mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And in 2026, that means AI is everywhere, which I think you have noticed. So it's in how we work, how we build, and how we govern. So all the way from co-pilots in Microsoft 365 to custom agents built with Azure AI. And Microsoft is really leading the way in making AI accessible, secure, and enterprise ready. So with exclusive access to some of OpenAI's most advanced models, you have a full stack AI platform in Azure and a deep commitment to responsible AI. Microsoft is helping organizations move from experimentation to impact, at the same time with trust, scale, and speed. So as we continue our journey today, think of AI not just as a toolkit, but as a ship, the compass, and the map for navigating your own AI transformations. And getting started then into how it actually looks when you're building things with AI. So how does the development fundamentals look like? Well, usually you need access to the best kind of frontier and open source models for your use case specifically. And in some cases, the models out of the box might not give you the exact result that you need. So you need the ability to customize or fine-tune those models for your needs. And of course, then you need to, you need to connect your AI apps or agents to different knowledge. So contextualize the response. And also, then you need to orchestrate multi-agent systems with support of interoperability and open frameworks. And then you need proper content safety and security measures included in every layer of the AI apps and agents. And finally, you need to continuously evaluate your solution through every stage of the AI development lifecycle. And Microsoft's way of doing this, and what we will be mostly looking at today, because this is where like everything is going within Azure AI, is with Microsoft Foundry. So Microsoft Foundry, for you that hasn't seen it before, it's a unified Azure platform, and it's designed to help organizations build, operate, and govern AI applications and multi-agent systems. So it brings together models, tools, agents, monitoring, and governance, and it's in a single enterprise-ready environment for you. So Foundry provides production-grade infrastructure. It streamlines development through a unified portal. It has built-in security and governance, and access to a wide range of different Azure AI capabilities. And that full ecosystem is like this. It's always expanding, so it might not be up to date because it might have changed something yesterday or today. So it updates all the time, and it's so much effort going into this service. But what you can see in the ecosystem, how it looks like, it really connects with what I said in that kind of how you develop it. So it's designed with the best models on the top. You can customize and modify everything within your agent tool chains. both with first-party offerings, and there's a lot of third-party offerings as well. And of course, when you want to set it into production, you can manage it and look at your performance, how it behaves in production. And of course, you need to safeguard it with your trustworthy AI. So it looks that it behaves, and you need to evaluate it all the way through, how it does that. But enough of some slides. I want us to jump in a little bit and look at what it actually looks like within Foundry then. So to start it off, the actual Foundry portal, you can see here. Oh, there we are. So this is how the Foundry portal looks like when you get into it. And I will address the top bar a little bit further when we go along. So you have a new Foundry experience, which I will tell you a little bit about the differences, because there are fundamental differences about the classical experience and the new one as well. So it's a real shift in how it looks like. But to start things off in Microsoft Foundry, here you have the overview page, a little bit about your endpoints and keys and that sort of thing. So your product details, pretty much. But if we scroll down a little bit, you will see that this aligns with what I told you before. So nail the basics with its steps. And this pretty much aligns exactly with those that continuous development cycle, what it looks like. So first off, you start with defining and exploring. So really, it's about picking the right model and start your experimentation on the specific use case you're looking at. After that, build and customize. So you start building out your solution, adding in tools, doing different kinds of things, maybe fine-tuning the model if needed, tweaking it all the way, doing it like that. And of course, when you want to be able to make it production ready, you need to observe and optimize it. So you can look at how it actually performs and see that it does what you want it to do. And in the end, protect and govern. So evaluate the quality and safety of what you're building. Look at different kinds of guardrails. You can set risks and that sort of thing, and establish your governance, of course, as well. And on the left pane, you can see that it also follows that exact same way of thinking. So from top to bottom, it goes from left to right the same way. So you can see the top here. It's all about the define and explore. First off, we have our model catalog. And this is where you can browse and look at all the different kinds of models that are available. It differs depending on what kind of region you're in and what kind of setup you have. So in my setup, I have it in Sweden Central. So I won't have the full range of all the models that are available. But it's a mix of models from all the way from OpenAI, and as you can see, DeepSeek, Claude, and a lot of different kinds of model. Open source one as well are available. And you have a model leaderboard, so you can see how it actually performs and in what area which model performs the best as well. It's an evaluation of that. But after that, of course, then when you want to try and run your different kinds of experimentations, you have the playgrounds. And I usually start off here. So in most cases, when you want to kick off a new kind of solution, what it is, I go in here first, or I go to the templates that we'll get to a little bit later. But the templates I usually use if I have a more specific need that I know more exactly what I'm going to do. But otherwise, I kick it off here in the playgrounds. And in the playgrounds, you have the top one, like the agent playground, of course. But you have a lot of different ones as well. So you have one for chat, one for video, images, audio, speech, language, translator, and assistance. So there's a wide range of it. And what you can do in here is actually, if we just click on any one, we can just go into the chat playground. It's a really good way of getting started with building your solution. So when you do it here in the first part, you pick your model, and just in the list of what you have deployed to your specific resource, you give it some instructions and a little bit of context on how it should behave. After that, you can add your own data if that's needed, and you can tweak some parameters to set a little bit on how it behaves. And after that, you can just get started and test it out, depending on what kind of need you have, so the specific use case you're trying to build. And of course, you can then go back and forward and tweak it however you need to make it fit what you want it to do. And then in the end, if it's good enough or ready to deploy, you can just add it here as a deployment. There are some different kind of deployment options. For my sake now, I only have the web app one available. But also, a really good thing that I like in pretty much all of the playgrounds, if you are not just more on the low code side or on that sort of, that's your preferred way of running it, or you're more of a full out developer, of course you want the code for it. which is a good feature you have here. So you can view the code, and what you have tweaked and set down in the parameters and the data and things you've added, that will be added into here. So you can see the full code on how you can run it. And of course, you can swap between different kinds of languages, and you can use different SDKs as well and modify it. And it gives you the endpoint to just add into here to start using it properly as well. So it's a really good starting point if you are more code first, and that's your approach and how you build things. So yeah, I would suggest if you're just getting started and it's the first time you're seeing these things, go in here and start out with a playground. But the other parts we have done, of course, you have the agents here on the top. And when you get in here, first off, now I don't have any agent, so it's a completely clean new Foundry. So then I just, first off, again, I pick my model. That's always the first step usually. So you pick the model, you click next and go into it. It will create your first agent for you. And here you can start setting it up and modifying it. And it looks pretty much the same. You set a name for it, you give it an instruction, but in here you have some more options now. So you can add knowledge. It's pretty much the same, but some more options on how it can behave connected to this. So it's just clicking and setting it up exactly. It gives you instructions on how you should set it up. But of course, now we have actions as well, because that's what differentiates most of the cases, what people see. When does it actually become an agent then? Yeah, well, when it can actually do things. So when it can perform different kinds of actions. So the options you have out of the box here, you have a code interpreter and some specific tools that you have available. But you can also build custom functions to do other things that you want to build as well from here. But you can add this in then as well. And of course, you have some samples and documentation for how that works. And connected agents. So what is this then? And what is the difference between multi-agent and connected agents? Well, the connected agents is pretty much like one-to-one. So it's a handoff between different agents. So it's not many agents working in one context. And again, I can mention that right now. That is one of the biggest differences, because when you are in the classic portal, it's more about the broad things of utilizing AI services in Azure. But when it comes to the new Foundry portal, that experience, that is specifically focused on running multi-agents. So how they connect and work together in a multi-agent system. That is the biggest differentiator. So it's hyper-focused on that specifically, which means you won't have these kinds of playgrounds and the broader access to other kinds of tooling that is available here. And then in the end, of course, you can do the same thing. You can tweak it a little bit. So the temperature, how creative should it be? It's pretty much what you're setting with these sort of things. And you can voice enable it right away from here as well. So if you want to add the capability of actually speaking with agents, then you can just integrate that right away. Yep, that's a quick cover of what is available here. And of course, you can try it out in the playground. So when you have tweaked it, you're just clicking there and you will come into the actual agent playground specifically. And you have the same things here, how you can actually view the code and see how it behaves, that sort of thing. Same kind of experience. But another really good starting point here is the templates. And as I said, the templates are a little bit more specific. So if you know that, for example, I want to start building multi-agents and that kind of automation workflow with a full suite of agents pretty much, then you have a template for getting started with it here. So it is pretty much like an accelerator, which makes you go a lot faster. So you can get into that a lot quicker. It gives you a lot of sample code that you can start off with and tweak and then get going to actually productionize the kind of solution you want to build. And you have many other different kinds of options here. There are more available as well if you look into things on GitHub. But all of this is open sourced. You can just access it in GitHub and it tells you the different kinds of services that it will be using. So also a really good starting point, I think, to get going into this world. And of course, fine-tuning. And fine-tuning, you take your model and you need to make it more specific to your specific context. So you train it to have higher weight in the kind of data sets you push into it. That will take higher priority in what the model, how it will behave. So you retrain it pretty much. And something that quite recently now went out of preview is the content understanding part here. I would say the content part here it's quite similar to what you saw in the playgrounds, what you can do here. But yeah, you have an overview on the different kinds of scenarios. So the use cases for content understanding is you can do different kinds of document intelligence for audio and video as well. And if you test it out, so you have a try it out button up here on the top, it gives you some different kinds of getting started options as well. So for example, if we take the invoice data extraction, it's exactly what it's saying. It will take key invoice data, including some of the like IDs and that sort of thing, and make it available for you. And it gives you a sample document here. So yeah, here we have an invoice in English for Contoso, of course. And if we run the analysis, you will see here just in a couple of seconds what it will extract for you. And when it's done analyzing, you see here, it extracted out these kinds of fields, and you can see where it is in the document and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, a really good starting point. And if you want to customize it, you can do it here. Not only that, if you want to build some kind of custom task connected to content understanding, you have that available here. So you can get started and build your own thing. And it gives you different kinds of, it explains what kinds of use cases it could be for these things. So you have some different modes, just a little bit of a different cost on the different things you're picking. So pro mode is, yeah, you can do cross-file analysis. This is more if you want it on a single file. And it will, of course, bump up the cost a little bit if you do it this way. And you have some advanced settings to configure some more parts there as well. But that's really nice. Starting points, both of it here, how you start building and customizing it. But when we get to the observe and optimize then, so how do you actually track that your solution is performing the way you want it to? Yeah, well, first off, tracing is one of the things, and it will view the kind of, you can see the performance, how it's actually behaving, the solution you built. So if you send in a question for it, for example, if it is like an agent or a chat or whatever, you can track exactly the performance, how it goes through the different kinds of steps and see, okay, where can I improve my solution to get higher performance so it goes a little bit quicker, perhaps, something like that. And if it fails, it's a really good thing for debugging. So you can see exactly what step failed and why, and trace it back to if it's related to something else as well. So it's a really good starting point to do that. And of course, you have monitoring. And there's two different things. You have application monitoring. So if you have deployed something into an application, then you can push that to that specific application insight resource. And yeah, you get that application analysis and analytics for that specifically. And then you have the resource usage as well. So in here, you can see for the different model deployments that you have deployed to your specific project, you can see how you have used it. So the number of requests, input, output, total requests, different kinds of latency matrix, that sort of thing as well. So also a good starting point to see how it behaves. And in some cases, it might be that you hit some kind of limit of throttling or something like that. And good starting point to keep track of that. So the observability is really built in. You don't need to leave this place. You can do most of the things to get started in Microsoft Foundry. And then when it is in production or when you have pushed it out and you want to see how it, okay, are you answering the way I want it to? Then you have evaluations. And you have different kinds of evaluations as well. So first off, do you have the automated evaluations? And it pretty much just, it looks at the quality and safety of the responses that you get back. And you can just tweak it and say how you want it to behave. And of course, modify it, do a new deployment and see, does it perform better now? Does it actually, is it able to answer the question that it couldn't before? That sort of thing. It's a good way of evaluating how it actually answers and how it does things. And you have something called AI red teaming. So it's like a scan, and it checks your agent or your model or application, and it will see that do I have any vulnerabilities or some sort of safety issue with the things I have deployed, of course. A really good way also of like stress testing and testing out your application or model or the thing that you're building. And the evaluator library, it's the full list of pre-existing evaluators that you have. So for example, this one, like violent content, it will look if you have some sort of violent things within the either the question or the answer or everything that goes through the model or application or whatever you have built. So you have a wide list of this in this evaluator library. And another important part, you have the guardrails and control. So the guardrails and control, like content filters. So what are you not allowed to answer on? You can tweak it a little bit. For example, the one that I said there, the violence. If it comes to, let's take the police, for example. If you would build something for a police in that sort of context and that domain, your application and model has to be able to answer things, it has to be able to access and do things within like violence, because that is something that will happen within that domain and that context. So you can tweak it, and in some cases, actually, you can turn it off completely. So you can completely turn off those kinds of content filters, but you need to do it with a request and send in, okay, why will you do this? So you need to motivate why you actually will turn it off. And you can add in a block list. It is something that is quite new, but then you can block specific like words, profanities, that sort of thing, whatever you want. Good. And of course, you have risks and alerts also connected to this, like protect and govern. It will scan your solution pretty much. So it's part of the Defender things, which you can do usually in Azure as well. So you can set them and see that, okay, do I have any kind of security risks or alerts that pop up? And how do I actually fix them as well? You can check that out here. And for the governance part, you can connect this to different kinds of solutions. Microsoft's own Purview, of course. You can connect it to that and manage the full compliance of how your solution is behaving. And then some other kinds of solutions that are available as well. So connect it with different things in Entra and some third-party different kinds of things as well. And you have some assets in the bottom here. So if you have ingested or indexed some data and your models, that can be found in the bottom. But let's jump over quickly then to the new portal. I won't show you as detailed as I did here by it right now, but you will see that it differs quite a lot. So if you do this, swap it over to new Foundry instead, you will see here that it looks really different. You won't recognize it as the same sort of thing. And also the focus on it is completely different as well. So this is just the overview homepage, but how we navigate it now is up here on the right instead. So you have no left pane when you go into the home parts. But coding, quick starts, you can do some like how you get started things here as well. You have some docs, GitHub connected things. There's a Discord available for this. Join it if you're interested. But what you can do otherwise then is it follows a little bit of the same similar pattern with the discover, build, operate sort of approach. Now you do build things. But if you go into discover, again, your models, your tools is available here. Some sort of solutioning templates that again are like a quick start, get started with different sort of things. Quite similarly, the same things pretty much as you saw before. But when you get to the build page, now you can see that it looks completely different. So in this page now, what you see, it is only things connected to agents. So it's only an agent part here where you can start building and bringing in things, create or build, bring in an existing one. Here you can manage your different workflows, your models, fine-tuning tools, that sort of thing. But again, it's hyper-focused specifically on building multi-agent systems. You don't have that sort of chat experience or content understanding that we looked at a little bit more, or the broader sort of sense of Azure AI services. It's not available here. So it's laser focused on multi-agent, building multi-agents. But the sort of workflow is the same other than that. Yeah, that's how it looks. But let's not keep going on just how these things look in here. I want to show you a little bit of the things where this has been used, actually. And the first one I want to kick off with follows the, and both of these things are using these Azure AI services and Foundry as a starting point as well. So the first one is with Husqvarna, and I was part of this, last lead architect. So yeah, a little bit of a quick intro of what we have been doing at Husqvarna. And I want to cover specifically one of the things that was mentioned there was something, if you saw it, called Factory Companion. I saw some things in the chat about not hearing audio. I will try to enable it for the next one if possible, because I have one more after this. But to cover that part that I mentioned about Factory Companion specifically then. So what is that? And what is the problem scenario that we're talking about? So specifically for Factory Companion, they have the problem of troubleshooting their machinery is really, really complex. And it's due to multiple things. There is a lot of different domains where it can be problematic in, and it can be so many different causes of why something is problematic. So, for example, if you have an ongoing stop, so the machine won't continue its operation, it can be multiple different things. It could be something mechanical, so if something is actually physically bent or something in the machine, something in the PLC programming, an IT application, some kind of service communication being down, database, whatever. It can be a multitude of things. And how that was troubleshooted before we came to this solution, there were documentation, so much documentation. And the problem with this is that it was spread across so many different multiple places as well. So for example, you had one system for the maintenance logs. You have one system for the IT incidents, one part where you stored, or many different parts where you store the machine documentation and troubleshooting guides. Both that it was scattered around on different file stores, that sort of thing. But also you had the machine documentation and troubleshooting guides in some cases just in physical folders next to the machine. If you have been out to some factories, you probably recognize that how it looks in many cases. But what we wanted to do then, we wanted to leverage generative AI on top of all of this data and provide one single interface to access all of that data, to be able to troubleshoot a lot quicker, of course. And that is pretty much exactly what we did. So we built the Factory Companion, and it looks simple, as you can see, which is exactly what they wanted out in the factory. So the operators, we built it, how they wanted it to look like. So if you're out in a factory and you're aware of how it looks there, it's usually quite dirty. You have a lot of big gloves and that sort of thing on, or equipment. So you want something that is clean and easy to use. And in this case then, if you just ask a question on it, so how do I switch the pallet in a specific machine, in a specific kind of process, it will give you the answer step by step, exactly how you do it. But if you don't know, then in the top there, hold the button. Which button am I talking about? Then you can actually go into the document where it found it, and it will anchor and see exactly where that is. And if you have pictures, for example, as it is in this example in the PDFs, which is their most common way of documenting it, you can see, it was this button specifically, then I know for the step one. So it's a little bit of connecting it to the documentation and finding things easier in that documentation as well. But again, this is just giving you it from one specific source. How about if you're asking a little bit more of a broader question, or you want answers from multiple different sources? Well, if you have this question, then what are the most common issues with that same machine and in that same process that we looked at before? Then you will see here, it gives you an answer from different things. It both give it from the maximal system, which is the planning and the incidents you see there as well. You have the document parts, like common things, and it will again give you those sources. So if you look at one of them, like the service now here, for example, and click it, you can see, you had a specific Citrix shortcut, something went wrong, that sort of thing. And again, if it is something in the document, you can click it, find the anchor where it found that in the system as well. And you will easily also get a look on that. So it can both be broader and it can be specific things, dependent on what kind of need you have. And we put this out quite fast to all the operators. So we built it from the start to getting it out in production with the first piloting group. It took us 6 weeks. Now we built it. And a lot why we could do that was because Microsoft Foundry. So it was the starting point where we went in. We started building the solution, evaluating it, seeing how it performed, and doing that sort of feedback loop together with the people out in the factory, and just improved it over time and time and time. And the next step where we are right now and what we're looking at is, of course, we're integrating it. So again, you don't want it to just be a chat. It shouldn't just be a simple chat, as I said in the beginning. And that is what we're doing now. We're integrating it into different kinds of systems. And one thing that we have built, again, for the factory is what we're calling the operator interface. So it's one interface for everything connected to the operations in the factory. So in the top here, this is like the stop classification. So you can classify what kinds of stops you have. And when you have a stop coming in, it will pop it up. Instead of you asking a question or needing to go to that chat and start writing things, it will pop up a recommended action for you instead and say, yeah, it could be this thing, fix this and this and this and this. And the other part as well, you have it as a pop-up on the side. So it goes right into that context where you are at the moment. So on the side there where you have it in the stop classification, you can see, okay, yeah, how many ongoing stops do I have, or what could it be when it's stopped here right now, la, la, la. And you're more in the context where you are at the moment. So again, integrating it to where you are and where you're actually working. That's the other thing about it. But let's see, I have another video. Let's see if I can just open it here and see if I can share with audio instead. If that's a possibility. Otherwise, we'll just go through it quickly. Can't really see the option, to be honest. No, we can't. Let's just play it through. I can talk over it instead while we play it, because I don't think I have text for it either. But what it is about the aviation industry, actually. Again, it's utilizing the Azure AI services, but this one is specifically a multi-agent system that we have deployed and productionized at an airline. And yeah, it's a little bit like this. So let's check it out. So when you go into the aviation industry, of course, a really big thing for them is disruptions, like any kind of disruptions. And it can be so many different things, but it affects a lot on what's going on, of course, in that kind of industry. But when you have then a different kind of disruption, you want it to like communicate in between different kinds of departments. What it could be like the fueling parts, how you plan the airplanes, what's going on in there, and yeah, keeping track of how the different kinds of traffic are going on at the airport as well. It's so many different things. So what we built it for is it's like an agentic system that first off, we have an orchestrator that communicates in between all of these different agents, and you have specific agents for this different parts. So as you see here, you have one like integration, one visualizer, one communicator, something that is specifically for crew management or that sort of thing. And when we deployed it and what we saw, some numbers for it, we saw a 70% reduction in decision time, 30% productivity gain, of course, a lot happier customers and that sort of thing. But again, this is a solution built specifically for a problem and something that we saw, and we did it for an airline. And it's a really good example of a multi-agent kind of system built. And yeah, it utilized Azure, of course. That is the backing services being used in here as well. But with that, I want to say thank you. And I hope a little bit now that I made it a little bit clear. So I hope I gave you a little bit more of a compass, or a direction at least, or where you should set sail on getting started with this, and where the line is going to make your AI transformation or getting into production a little bit better. So I'm thinking a little bit if we have any questions, we could wrap up with that, perhaps. I can't see.
Yeah, yes, I have some questions for you. Yeah. And one is, what are the most common mistakes people make when they're choosing Azure Foundry or starting with Azure Foundry? So what do you see here for see your problems and mistakes the user does?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most common things I see is it's of course dependent on where you are, but if it is where this session is directed a little bit, if you're getting started more, or you're trying to scale it or ramp it up, or getting a little bit faster, one of the most common things I see is picking something from the start that is a little bit too complex. So I usually see that you pick something. I mean, for example, the last one I showed you, it's a complex case. There's so many things going on there. If a company would have started with that one, I don't know about the success rates. I mean, I'm guessing you've seen quite a lot about the only, what is it, that report that came out, like only 5% of generative AI cases are successful. I think in a lot of cases, it is that you're trying to do something too complex from the start. Because if you're starting with things, for example, the Factory Companion, as I showed before, that one was one of the first things we built, because we know we have the right data. It's in quite good quality. We need to tweak it just a little bit. But we could get started with that right away, get it out in production. It gave value right away. So it's really about like picking the right things you get started with. It's quite important, and a lot of companies get stuck if you don't.
And another question is nearly perfect about this, I would say. For example, I can build with Copilot Studio agents too. So when I choose what?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest differentiator, what I would say and what I've seen, I always recommend if you are a company that is already into the Power Platform or that sort of thing, and you have more developers or people building things that sort of way, of course, try to start building it in there, like Copilot Studio. But what I see in a lot of cases is actually like there's always, or not always, but in a lot of cases, again, coming to the complexity, when you get to the like to the end limits of what's available in Copilot Studio, it is low code, and one of the drawbacks, or not drawbacks, but things that happen when it is low code, is that it's always a little bit black boxed, or not black boxed, but simplified in some parts. You can't modify or change everything. Usually, you don't have full availability of doing whatever you want. You're a little bit limited. So usually I see when you go from that sort of low-code solutioning and Copilot Studio, building agents, to why you should go over to Azure AI and the services here, Foundry and that sort of thing, is that complexity gate. So if you want to have complete full control of what you're building, you want to do it perhaps code first. You want to make it easier to scale over, like if you have the context again of the first thing with factories, if you wanted to scale over all the factories, and it will different cases everywhere, and you need to tweak it a lot, I would prefer going Azure AI services instead. So yeah, that kind of how much do you actually need to modify, and what sort of how much do you how much are you able to modify with what you're building? I think that is one of the limiting factors.
And to the end, I would say one pain question is, so it's, I totally understand that it's easy to start. So, but so if I work with, I would say, critical data, you need to build an application lifecycle management system. How easy or how complex is this to integrate with Azure AI Foundry?
Yeah, I mean, it's super simple, and why I think it's super simple as well. Everything that I showed you as well, and a reason why I showed you a little bit about the code parts as well, is that when you want to integrate it into your existing application management or how you're building things, you can pretty much see as all the different components that I showed you are accessible through APIs. So it's super simple to integrate it into existing things. Also, not only how you actually build it and how you customize and do that sort of thing, the governance, the evaluation, all of that, everything is available through APIs. So you can do it like code-based and integrate it into your already existing flow on what you're doing. So if you already have that, like the full CI/CD, how you manage your life cycle of applications, super simple to integrate it. You will just do it pretty much the same. There's, of course, some differentiators. It always is, but the biggest part is like you need to do some more, evaluate your data and just evaluate how the things perform, and that sort of security is a little bit different. But other than that, integrate it in what we already have.
So thank you. I think this was a great keynote session. Really good opener for the day. I want to thank you. I hope you see us again this year or the next. And our next session for today is Nanddeep and Smita Nachan from Models to Agents, engineering custom engine agents in Microsoft Foundry. So we stay on the topic. See you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.FM podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking, revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.FM podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.FM now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.FM. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
On the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever. Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.fm podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.fm podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually, over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.fm now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.fm. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, Marcel. Good morning.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hopefully, you're able to hear me all okay. See me as well.
We hear you good.
Okay. Do you want me to share the screen, or I should do it a bit later?
Yeah, you could share your screen here.
Oh,
So I make a short introduction, and when you can share your screen.
sure. Maybe just to check like screen sharing works or not, I will share it for a moment. Then probably you can take over.
So if you have bad bandwidth, you can make your camera resolution settings on 480p or 360p. It's if you click on the wheel and then on camera. So there's a camera resolution.
Right.
This would help.
Okay.
So if you have not so much
Okay, so-
bandwidth.
Oh, okay. So should I make it full HD? Is it better now?
Yeah, the wheel and camera resolution.
Camera resolution. Yeah, camera resolution. I have set it to full high definition.
Yeah, so it's better you set it on 480p.
Oh, yeah, 1080p. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
So it
480p.
is
480.
480. Oh, sorry, 480. Got it.
So hello and a warm welcome to our M365 Con. We are back here on the Azure and Entra stage with Nanddeep and Smita Nachan. A warm welcome to you. The topic of today is from models to agents, engineering custom engine agents in Microsoft Foundry. You could start, but I wait a minute, so if works everything fine here for you. Yeah, looks good.
Okay, good to start. All right. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We'll be talking about from models to the agent, how we are moving towards the new agentic era wherein we are using everything, all of the agents. So I know the topic of this agent, or sorry, topic of this session looks very long, but we are going to keep it very simple, very interesting, showing you practical things like how the agents work. So I know it is the topic talks about Microsoft Foundry, but we are going to talk about everything that can help you for having your agents created. All right, so this is what we are going to do today. And before we start the session, quick introduction. Myself, Nanddeep. I'm Microsoft MVP as well as Microsoft Certified Trainer. Author of these 3 books, including SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Hybrid, and Viva Connections. I'm from Pune, and then on to the right hand side, here are a few of my social media handles. So, if in case you want to have any further discussion, please feel free to get in touch with me either on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, or maybe onto my blogs or YouTube channel. And again, I'm author of this Udemy course that you can see at the bottom of the screen. All right, so that is about me, and with me today is Smita.
Hello, all. Myself Smita Nachan. I'm from Pune, India. I'm having total 17 years of experience in Microsoft technology. I'm an author of these two books, and these are some of my social handlers by which you can get in touch with me.
All right, so let's see like what we are going to cover today. So today, means we will, as I said, we will be keeping it very interesting, very basic. So we will understand what is meant by agents. Also, we will understand the agent architecture. So how when we are creating our agents, it is pretty much essential that we should understand the architecture of the agent and in which areas that we should work on so that we can be able to create some good agents. After that, we will move on to the topic of today, which is Microsoft Foundry, like how you what is meant by Microsoft Foundry, how you can create your own Microsoft Foundry, how you can create projects in that, and then again how you can create your agents using Microsoft Foundry. Again, nowadays we have moved very forward. Like we are not just satisfied with having one agent, but we are into the era wherein we do have multiple agents who wants to talk to each other, get the things performed. So again, we'll be showing a quick small demo of like how you can have that multi-agent orchestration done as well. And again, we will be looking at some custom engine agents as well, like how you can build them yourself. And then lastly, we'll be discussing about the Microsoft Entra Agent ID, which is again a new capability, still in preview, but very powerful capability, which will help you to see, monitor, govern all of the agents that you are creating with Microsoft Foundry as well as with Copilot Studio. Okay, so that is the agenda that we have got today. So let's get started with how this app development has been evolved.
So, before we dive into the Microsoft Agent Framework, let's take a step back and look at how the way we build apps has changed. So, traditionally our apps were deterministic, so everything worked based on the rules and the code that we explicitly wrote. So, if we wanted a future, we built it line by line, and when we tested the app, we expected the same input to always produce the same output. So, but now with built-in apps, things works very differently. So these apps are probabilistics. Instead of writing a long pieces of logic, we guide the system using the prompts. So now instead of building every feature ourselves, we create the agents that can understand what we want, break down tasks, call the tools, and perform the actions on their own. And even testing has changed. So we don't just check if the code runs, we evaluate how the agent behaves in a different situations. So in a simple words, earlier we used to write the instructions, now we write the intentions. So earlier we built the features, so now we build the agents. And this shift is what makes intelligence apps so powerful today. So now let's just zoom in into these features. The software development is changing as we move from the traditional modern apps to intelligent AI powered apps. So the way we think, design, and build the solutions is shifting because the AI brings the new capabilities and new ways of working. So when it's come to the modern apps, how we used to build most software. So the modern apps follow a deterministic approach, meaning everything behaves exactly as we program it. So if we write a piece of code, the output is always predictable. And when it's come to the deterministics, the systems follows the strict rules, the same input, same output every time. When it's come to the writing the code, we spend most of our time writing the functions, logic, and conditions. So developers manually create every feature. And when it's come to the building the features, so the every capability must be explicitly coded. So if user needs something new, we build it ourselves step by steps. And for the testing, we test to make sure our code behaves exactly the way we expect. So the testing focuses on accuracy and predictability. And when it's come to the intelligence apps, that is how AI powered apps are built today. So the intelligent apps works in a probabilistic way. So they give us the most likely answer, not a fix, and a guaranteed answer also. So when we talk about the probabilistics, so the AI models predict and generate the responses based on the patterns. So the same input might not always give the exact same output because the AI adapts based on the context. When it's come to the writing the prompts, so instead of writing the detailed logic, we write the instructions for the AI, and the prompts replace many lines of code with natural language guidance. When it comes to the creating the agent, so instead of building every feature manually, we create the agents that understand the task, break them down, call tools or APIs, and complete the workflows. When it's come to the evaluation part, so the testing AI is different. So we evaluate behavior. So we check if the model behaves correctly in many scenarios and not just whether the code complies or not. So the focus is on the quality, reliability, and outcomes. So in its simple terms, earlier developer wrote every rule themselves. Now, with AI, we guide the system using the prompts and build the agents that can think, plan, and act. So, the modern apps needed the logic, function, fix rules, and the intelligent app needs the prompt, context, evaluation of behavior. So, this shift is transforming how we build a software from writing step by step instructions to creating a smart agents that understand the intent and solve the problems on their own. So, let's see the next part is what are the agents. So, the agents are AI powered programs that automate repetitive tasks by working alongside people or in some cases acting on their behalf. So instead of just answering the questions, the agent can take the actions, follow the steps, and help to complete the real work for an individual or a team or an entire organization as well. So the agents can vary in complexity based on what you need. So at the simple end, you have a retrieval agents that focus on finding the right information such as the documents, emails or the records. So moving further, task based agents can perform the specific actions like creating the tickets, updating the data, or triggering the workflows. At the advanced end, autonomous agents can reason, make the decisions, and carry out the multi steps processes with minimal human involvement. So, the key idea is that agents are flexible. You can start small with a simple information retrieval and gradually evolve towards more advanced autonomous capabilities as you use the use cases and the confidence grow. Now let's see this agent's architect. So this shows the high level architecture of an agent and how its core building blocks work together. So at the center, it is the orchestrator. So this is the brain of the agent. It decides what to do with user request, which tools to call, how to sequence the steps, and how to handle the results or the errors. So the agent is grounded by knowledge, and this includes the instructions, rules, and access to the data that help the agent understand the context and produce accurate, relevant responses. So the tools give the agent the ability to act, and this can be actions, workflows, APIs, or the integrations with internal and external systems. So the tools are what turn an agent from something that only responds into something that actually does work. So autonomy defines how independently the agent operates. This also includes planning the multi-step task, handling the exceptions, and responding to triggers or events without the constant user input. So all of this is powered by the foundation models which provide the reasoning, and the language understanding capabilities. So on top, publishing and management handle how the agents are deployed, versioned, monitored, and governed. So agent can also connect with other agents, enabling collaboration and the more complex scenarios. So the key takeaway is that an agent is not just a prompt, it's a structured system made up of orchestration, knowledge, tools, models, and all managed and secured as a complete solution. So when we go to the next, you can see this Copilot Studio Lite experience over here. So this diagram explains the no-code architecture behind the Copilot Studio Lite and how the responsibilities are split between you and the platform. So at the core is the orchestrator, which is completely managed by Microsoft. And this component understands the user intent, decides how a request should be handled, and coordinates everything behind the scenes. So you don't configure or write any orchestration logic, it just works. So below that are the foundation models. So the again the fully managed by Microsoft. So these are the large language models that power the understanding, reasoning, and the response generations. So as a user, you don't choose the model or tune the parameters. The platform takes care of that. So where we do have a control is mainly in the two areas of knowledge and the tools. Let's see one by one. So the knowledge is where you define the instructions and grounding, and this includes telling the copilot how it should behave, what tone to use, and what information sources it should rely on, such as Microsoft 365 content or the selected websites. So this is how you can make the agent relevant to your specific scenario. And when it's come to the tools, so the tool represent the actions and the simple workflows the agent can perform. In Copilot Studio Lite, these are limited and predefined, but they allow the agent to do more than just answers questions, such as triggering the basic capabilities or interacting with the connected services. When it's come to the autonomy, so the things like planning, triggers, and exception handling is available but in a controlled and simple way. So you benefit from it, but you don't directly design the complex autonomous behavior. So on top, publishing and management are handled automatically. So security, compliance, permissions, and lifecycle management are built in. So anything you create is enterprise ready by default. So the finally connected agent shows that even in a low no code model, Copilot can collaborate with other agents, but all the interactions stay within the same Microsoft managed environment.
All right, so with that, now let us have a quick demo of how these no-code agents can be built. So right now, I'm onto the Microsoft 365 portal, and this is the chat interface that you have got. Simply, what you can do is onto the left-hand side here, you can see that we have got option of creating a new agent. So we'll simply click on new agent. This is the Visual Studio or the Copilot Studio Lite experience that we have got, not the Visual Studio, Copilot Studio Lite experience that we have got. So simply you can click new agent if in case you have a scenario that can be templated. For example, if you're looking out for a meeting coach, learning coach, quiz tutor or anything else, you can simply select that, and then you have your workflow here or your agent here. So let's say for example we select quiz tutor here. We're not going to do it entirely, but as soon as we select that template, it is going to pre-populate everything. And as we have seen into that diagram, these are the only two things where we have the control. So the blocks that you see in blue boxes, these are the only blocks where we have got control. So that means we can specify our knowledge and we can give the tool. Rest of the other things are controlled by Microsoft. Okay, so let me again go back there. So here you can see like as we discussed, we can give the instructions and everything which is our knowledge. And then secondly, we do have access over our tools, our knowledge that we have got here, which tools to use, which knowledge to use, and that's it. Apart from that, we do not have any other control over the orchestration or foundation model or even publishing and management. So that's it. And if you click create On this, it is going to create a quiz tutor for you. If in case you just want to test it out here itself, you can start with any of the starter prompt, give it, and then it is going to give you the quiz based on the instructions which are specified, as well as if in case there are any websites which are provided here. Okay, so this is kind of a quiz experience that we got. But only thing we wanted to point out here is like when you are creating the no code kind of an agents with Copilot Studio Lite experience, these are the two boxes where you will have control. Rest of the boxes will be managed by Microsoft. Okay, so let us continue this discussion further and let us look into the low code option which can be created with Copilot Studio.
So this diagram explains the low-code Copilot Studio model and how it gives you the more control compared to the Copilot Studio Lite. So while still keeping the things managed and enterprise ready. So at the center, it is the orchestrator. Unlike the no-code experience, here you can influence how the conversations flow, how the tools are invoked, and how the decisions are made. So without writing the full application code, the orchestrator still runs on the Microsoft platform, but you shape its behavior using the visual and configuration based tools. So the foundation models are provided and managed by Microsoft, so you don't worry about hosting or scaling the large language models. You focus on configuration, not infrastructure. So you get a more richer control over three key areas. So first one is the knowledge, second one is the tool, third one is the autonomy. So let's check all of them one by one. So let's first talk about the knowledge. So you can define the detailed instructions and grounding, and this includes the choosing the multiple data sources, redefining how the content is used, and shaping the agent's behavior for the specific business scenarios. When it's come to the tools, so this is where low code really shines. You can add the actions, workflows, Power Automate flows, API plugins, as well as the integrations with other systems. So these tools allow the agent to take the real action, not just answer the questions. And when it's come to the last one, that is autonomy, so you can figure the planning, triggers, and exception handling, so the agents can proactively act, follow multiple steps workflows, and handle the more complex scenarios compared to the no code model. So for the publishing and the management remain the inbuilt. So the security, governance, versioning, and lifecycle management are handled by the platform, ensuring the enterprise compliance. So the finally connected agents allow your agent to collaborate with or delegate the tasks to other agents, enabling the more advanced modular solutions. So, in summary, the Copilot Studio is ideal when you want more power and flexibility than no code, but still want to manage low code experience that avoids the complexity of the full custom development.
Okay, so with that, again, let us go back to the demo and see like how we can do that. So right now I'm into the copilotstudio.microsoft.com, and this is a place from where we'll be able to create our agents. And as Smita said, we will be able to create agents, and then we will have more control over that. So let us go into the create agent kind of a screen. And from here, at least you can see like we do have control over knowledge, tools, autonomy. Even we can control the publishing and management. Even we can select our foundation model. So all those areas we will have control over. Okay, so this is a place from where you will be able to select your model. If in case you want to go with GPT-5, GPT-5 Auto, or any of the others, you can select them. Again, here we do have triggers which will act as a tools for your agent. You can define the instructions by giving some knowledge. And again, we have got tools, other agents. If in case you want to have the connected agent kind of a functionality, you can do that. So again, just looking at the topic of this session, we will not go very deeper into the Copilot Studio, but we just wanted to show you the option like what are the what are the blocks that we have got here where we have got control with the Copilot Studio. Now that let us come back to our session wherein we do have the pro code kind of an capabilities, and where definitely the Microsoft Foundry, Microsoft 365 Agent Toolkit, and SDK they shine, which gives you the complete full control over the entire ecosystem.
So this explains the pro-code approach to building the agents using the Microsoft 365 Agent Toolkit and SDK. So in these models, developers have the full control over every part of the agent. So you build and own the orchestrator, which means you decide how the user requests are handled, how the steps are planned, and which tools are called, and how responses are generated. So you explicitly define the agent's knowledge, integrate the tools such as APIs and the workflows, and control the autonomy. So how the agent plan this task, handle the exceptions, and react to triggers. So you can also design the agents to collaborate with other agents for more advanced distributed scenarios. So while foundation models and publishing still integrate with Microsoft AI platform, the responsibility for orchestration and behavior lies with you as the developer. So this approach is ideal for the complex enterprise grade use cases that require the deep customization, advanced integrations, and specialized logic that low code options can't support. Now let's see about this Microsoft Foundry. So at Microsoft Ignite, Azure AI Foundry was rebranded to the Microsoft Foundry to reflect its expanded role as the unified platform for building the AI apps and agent. So this is not just a name change, it signals that the platforms now goes beyond the Azure and brings together everything needed to design, build, evaluate, and deploy the intelligent applications and the agents across the cloud and edge. So with Microsoft Foundry, developers get the models, agent services, tools, evaluations capabilities, and the machine learning workflows all in one place, supported by the enterprise grade security, compliance, as well as the governance. So it's now positions as the core AI apps and agent factory for the entire Microsoft ecosystem. So Microsoft Foundry is a unified platform that gives you the models, tools, and the services to build, run, and manage the intelligent apps and agents securely from the cloud to the edge. So Microsoft Foundry is and how it brings together everything needed to build the AI applications and the agents in one unified platform. So think of a foundry as a factory where you can design, build, run, and manage all your AI powered solutions, whether they run in a cloud or at the edge. So first one we are going to discuss about the models. So this is where all the AI brains lives. So you get the access to powerful language models, vision models, and reasoning models. So these models helps your agents to understand the instructions, generate the responses, summarize the information, make decisions, and many more things. So, in simple terms, the models provide the intelligence behind your agents. When it's come to the agent service, so this is the core engine for creating and running the agents. So it gives you a standard way to define a agent behaviors. So it handles the interactions, tools, memory, as well as the orchestrations. So it lets the agents reason, plan, and execute the task. So to talk for in the simple words again, the agent service is where you actually build and host your agents. Third is the IQ, that is the intelligence quality. So IQ ensures your AI behaves the way you expect. So it helps you to evaluate the outputs from the models and agents. It also measures the quality, safety, accuracy, and reliability. It makes sure the agent perform well before and after the deployment. To put it in a simple words, IQ is the quality check for your AI agents. And the fourth one is the tools, which allows your agents to take the actions. A tool can be an API, a database query, a function, or an external capability. So the agents can use the tool to fetch the data, update the system, perform the calculations, or automate the task. In a simple terms, if you can say, the tools give your agent hands and legs. Let's see one example. Get the customer details from the CRM becomes a tools your agent can call. And fifth one is the machine learning. So this allows you to bring your own ML workflows. So you can train your models, you can deploy the custom machine learning pipelines, you can integrate the ML assets into your agents or the applications. So in a simple terms, the ML capabilities let you customize and extend the intelligence beyond the foundation models. And sixth one is a control panel. So this is the layer that manages everything behind the scenes. So it handles the security, access, deployment, as well as the monitoring. So it ensures all the components, agents, tool models are connected and working smoothly. It provides the governance and operational visibility. So again, to put it in a simple words, the control plane is the command center that keeps the whole system running. And the next one is the cloud to edge. So the platform works across the environments. When it's come to the clouds, where most AI workloads run. So Azure hosted models, agent services, and when it's come to the edge, where you want the low latency, offline or the private workloads, let's say for example local machines, on device, in inference. These are the things. So this means you can run the agents in Azure inside your data center or even on the edge devices. So, in simple words, build once, deploy anywhere. And when it's come to the security, compliance, and the governance, which is the foundation, so everything in Foundry is built on enterprise grade controls. So, data privacy, access controls, audit logs, compliance. So, this makes sure it's suitable for industries like finance, healthcare, and government also. In simple words, Foundry gives you AI with enterprise trust built in.
Okay, so with that, let's get into the Microsoft Azure portal and explore this Microsoft Foundry. So to start using the Foundry, like what you can do is you need to have the Microsoft Foundry project created, and at the same time you will need something called as Azure OpenAI. So you can just simply search for this Azure OpenAI, get your resource created. So this is kind of a resource. Right now it is hosted into the East US region, but again invitation based. So you can create this resource Azure OpenAI, and then again just search for the Microsoft Foundry, and from there you can start creating your hub and then the projects inside of that. So let me just fast forward and get it into any of the project that we have created so far. So this is the Microsoft Foundry portal, wherein at the overview you will get the API key and the Microsoft Foundry project endpoint. So this is where you will be able to see the API key and then the Microsoft Foundry project endpoint, which you will be able to use inside of your code for using this Foundry as an AI based brain in your application. So how you can do that, again there is a detailed documentation available with the SDKs as well as APIs. So this is where like how you can get started with Microsoft Foundry SDKs. So these are the endpoints which are available, or even if in case you want to go with OpenAI SDK or Foundry Tools SDK, these are the options available. Even recently the agent framework which has been announced, which is kind of an combination of both of the good platforms from semantic kernel as well as autogen, you will be able to use those as well. So maybe this is good documentation that you can refer to. But again, coming back to the points, like from here you can get those key and endpoints and start using into your projects. Now quickly going back to the deployments that we have had here. So for example, if you see here, we have got couple of deployments done already. So deployment, that means you can choose your model that you want to deploy. So you can simply go for deploy a model, and then the models which are available here, they are from various vendors, so maybe including Microsoft, OpenAI, Hugging Face, and so on. You'll be able to see all those models, and then you can choose the one which looks good for you for your purpose. Again, if in case you are not very much sure which model to choose, then we have got the evaluation here as well, which will help you to choose your best model. Now, what we did quickly is just to save the time, we have done the deployment of couple of models here. So the first model that we are using here is GPT-4o, which is the chat-based model, which we are going to use for chatting purpose. The second model that we have got here is the text embedding 3 small, which is the embedding model. So this embedding will help us to divide the data which has been given into the chunks and then give us the result based on the matching chunks. So this is where this embedding model will help us. Now, coming back to the points, like now, if in case you just want to simply evaluate this model, you can go onto the playground and from there, you'll be able to evaluate that. But today, what we are going to do is, or maybe you can just click onto this try chat playground or chat video playground and so on, and then you will be able to test out those models. So from here, you can select your model deployment that you have done so far. If in case you want to add your own data, you want to define the parameters, all those basic things that you can do, you can type your query and then you'll be able to use this agent for your chatting purpose. Now that we are going into this agent mode, so these agents are nothing but they are kind of an advanced functionality of AI which we will be able to use directly inside of our code. So when you will create your Microsoft Foundry project, by default you will get one agent, which I have deleted, and now that I have created another agent called as Contoso HR agent. So let me open that Contoso HR agent, and the same thing, like for example, when you will create new agent, every agent will have their unique agent ID that you can see from here. Name of the agent, there will be obviously some name given here, but you will be able to choose the name that you want. So I have given the name as the Contoso HR agent, because this is the HR agent which we want to use for specific scenario. So this is kind of an HR agent which will help us as an internal assistant for the Contoso Electronics, and it will help find employees the accurate policy related answers to the questions which are related to the job role description, responsibilities, performance review process, employee rights and workplace safety, company values and so on, health and wellness benefits and so on. So um, this is the core objective of having this agent. This is the instruction that we have given. So this is kind of an or this instruction, they define the behavior for your agent, or at least they give more context to agent, like what they should do, what they should not do, and how they should do that. And again, even we have went ahead and given some of the scenarios that this particular agent can look into. For example, what is the deductible for Northwind standard and so on. Now, to work on any of the information, we are giving some knowledge bases here. So what kind of a knowledge is that we can give to this agent? So knowledge, that means nothing but the information that this particular agent can look into. So if you click on add, you can see like at this moment, these are the sources that we can add into this. Few of them are in preview, including SharePoint, Microsoft Fabric, even Bing custom search. But again, obviously, we can use the one which are for files, Azure AI search, and so on. Okay, so these are the one which we can use. And you can see like already I have enabled this file. So what I did is like I have uploaded few files here into this knowledge source. So let me just click on manage. So these are few of the files that I have uploaded there already, which talks about some of the perks for the employees, employee handbook, the health plus benefit, the role library, and benefit options. So all in all, this contains all the information about how the employees benefit looks like, and even the information about the entire employees. And again, here we have got the Northwind standard benefits details, which is again one of the health care policy which is available for the employees. So this is kind of an HR agent which is made available, and this HR agent can help the employees to answer any queries related to their queries, maybe onto the employment, or maybe onto the health database or healthcare policies and so on. Now let us go ahead and try to see like how this particular agent behaves. Okay, so now that we are going to ask few of the questions to this agent. So first thing is like we will ask what is the difference between the Northwind standard and health plus when it comes to the emergency and mental health coverage. Okay, so now, for example, if you see here, it has started looking for the references using the files because we had supplied certain files as a knowledge sources for this agent. So it has started looking into those sources. Okay, and now you can see like at least it has referred to most of those files that we had uploaded, and then it has given us the entire end-to-end kind of a result that we'll be able to use here. Okay, so this is the kind of an emergency coverage which are included in both the policies, including Northwind Standard and Northwind Health. So it will give you all that information. Now, let's say, for example, if we ask another question like, if probably if I hit my out-of-pocket max on Northwind Standard, do I still pay for the prescriptions? Okay, so this is kind of an again query that we can use. So what it will do is it will again look out for those references from the information which is available in the form of those knowledges, and then even here you can see all that citations, and even it will once you mouse over here, even it will give you more information about which document it is referring to, and even which of the segment of that document that it has referred to. Okay, so all that information you will get directly. Now that let us go on to some more kind of a scenarios. Let's say, for example, we want to create some kind of a multi-agent kind of an orchestration. So because right now the agent that we have seen here, if in case I again go back to the agents, so this was a single solo kind of an agent which was doing the work by giving some kind of a knowledge, the tools and everything to answer the user queries or the employee queries. Now that let's say, for example, we want to build some kind of an multi-orchestration kind of a thing wherein we will introduce multiple agents, and then those multiple agents will interact with each other to carry out the question answering for the users. So let us see like how we can do that.
So let's look at how this multi-agent orchestration works. So when the users gives a prompt, it does not mean a single agent has to figure out everything on its own. Instead, the task is passed to agent 1, which acts like a coordinator, and the agent 1 looks at the request and breaks it down and decides which other agent should help. So behind the scenes, the agents start talking to each other. The agent 1 might ask the agent 2 to gather the information, and the agent 3 to analyze or calculate something, and the agent 4 to format or structure the output. So each agent specialize in something different, just like experts on a team. So they share the results back and forth until the task is complete. So once all the pieces come together, so agent 1 collects the final output and sends a clean, finished response back to the user. The user does not see all the internal steps, they just get the final high quality answer. So, in a simple terms, this is the AI framework. So, each agent does a part of the job, they collaborate, and together they produce something better than any agent could do alone. So, for the multiple agents, they can work together like a team to solve a problem. So, instead of one agent doing everything, the task is divided and shared across several specialized agents. So, the user starts with a prompt. A person gives an instructions or asks a questions, and this prompts goes first to agent 1. For example, create a marketing plan for our new product, and the next thing happens is the agent ones act like the coordinator. So the agent one reads the prompt and decides what needs to be done, who else should help, and what information should be passed around. And it may answer a part of the questions or send tasks to another agents that specialize in a different areas. So the agent talk to each other behind the scenes. So the orange dotted arrows show how the agents collaborate. So the example scenario, agent 1 sends the research task to the agent 2, and this agent 2 may then ask the agent 3 to run the calculations or build a summary. So the agent 3 might ask the agent 4 to format or structure the final result. The each agent has a specific strength such as research, writing, summarizations, data analysis, formatting, planning. So they work together like a team of experts. When it's come to the information flow between the agent, so the agent exchange the intermediate results, ideas, conclusions, and pieces of work. So this is called orchestration because the system coordinates how all agents work together. So think of it like the agent 1 is a conductor and agent 2, 3 and 4 are musicians playing their parts. So the final response returned to the user once all the agents finish their contribution. So the agent 1 collects the results, organizes them, and sends a clean final answer back to the user. So the user sees only the final response, not the internal conversations between the agent. So, in a simple words, the multi-agent orchestration means the different agents take the different parts of the task, they collaborate, communicate, and build on each other's work. The user gets a polished output created by many intelligent components working together. So it's teamwork of AI. So now let's go ahead and see the demo for it.
Alright, so to have a look at the demo, again, I will go back to the Microsoft Foundry portal and we will start by creating new agent. So now that we are going to mimic a scenario wherein we as a team are working on to triaging the issues which are reported. So here we will need few things. So first thing, whenever any of the issue comes to the or any of the issue is reported, we want to understand the priority of that particular issue. So that's the reason we are going to create one agent and we will call it as a priority agent. Next thing, obviously, when there is an issue, it will be handled by multiple teams. So we are going to create team agent. Then also we'll have to evaluate the efforts which are needed for that work to be done. So we'll create an effort agent. And then finally, we are going to create a master agent, which will call all these three agents to triage the given ticket. Okay, so let's first start with priority agent. So this is kind of a priority agent that we have got. So what we are going to do now is that in the instructions, we will simply say like, this is kind of an agent who accesses how a ticket is urgent based on the description provided, and then it can respond with the level. For example, if it is a high, medium, or low kind of a ticket, and then only it outputs the urgency level and a very brief explanation about that. Okay, so this is the thing that it is going to do. All right, so now let us go and create another agent that we talked about, which is a team agent. Okay, so team agent will decide like which team should own this particular work. So for that, again, we are going to create another agent called as team agent, and then we will give it some description, some instruction, saying like this is the agent which can decide which team should own the ticket. So it can choose from the team, for example, front end or back end or infrastructure or even marketing and so on. So based on the answer, the content of the ticket, it can respond the name of the team. Okay, so that is the thing it will do. After that, we are going to create another agent and we are going to call it as an effort agent, because when ticket will come to our bucket, we want to evaluate the effort of that particular ticket. So again, that effort could be a very small effort, a medium kind of an effort, or it could be a large kind of an effort. So this is kind of an agent which will help us to estimate how much work will be needed on this particular ticket. So for example, small, which can be completed in a day, medium, that means it might take 2 to 3 days of work, or even it could be a large work which can even involve multiple days as well as the cross team kind of an effort. So these are the three agents that we have got. Now these three are kind of an independent agent. Now we are going to create a master agent which will consume or which will call all those three agents whenever needed. So we are going to create a agent here called as triage agent. So this triage agent will, by its name, triage the given ticket. So it will use all those connected tools to determine ticket's priority and which team it should be assigned to and how much efforts that it will need. So now what we will do is we are not going to add any knowledge here as of now, but we are going to go into the connected agents. Once you go into the connected agents, from here you can see all the agents that we have selected. So now here we can give the unique name for this agent, and then we should specify the details about when this particular agent should be activated. Okay, so we will say here like to assess like how urgent a ticket based on the description. So whenever this kind of a condition arises, it should go ahead and use the effort agent. Okay, so this is one agent that we have added as the connected agent. Now we will go ahead and add another agent, which is our priority agent. So we will add that priority agent as well. So again, as we know, like oh, okay, so priority agent is the one that that will assign the priority. So it will assess like how a ticket is urgent based on the description. Let me go back to the previous effort agent. So effort agent, we should change the effort. So effort agent is the one which will estimate how much effort will be needed per ticket. So it will be estimate how much work each ticket will require. We'll update that. And then again, I will go back to the connected agent where we will select the team agent. So team agent, the role of team agent to decide which team should own each ticket. Okay, so we will just give that as a description. And again, we are going to call it as a team agent itself. So now that we have scenario wherein we have got agents created for effort calculation, team identification, and priority setting. But and at the top we have got this triage agent which will help us to triage the given ticket. Okay. Okay. So now that let us go on to this agent. So we will just select this agent and we will try that into the playground. So now that what is needed here is like we need to give it a problem statement. So I will say like the login page keeps showing the 500 errors for all users. So this is the problem statement which comes to us. So now this triage agent that we have got, it can see like it has got some connected agents. So it is trying to connect to all those agents to see like what information that it can get from here, because this triage agent is responsible for triaging that given ticket and then use those connected tools or agents to determine the ticket's priority, which team that it should be assigned to, and how much effort that it will need. So now you can see like it has connected to all these three agents, and then it has given us the priority, the team assignment, and effort. So these are the output that we see, and then we are going to get the final output from here. So this is kind of a ticket assessment that it has given. But now let us see like what kind of a tools that it has used. So in the tools, at least we can see here, it has connected to those three connected agents. But now when we will go into this run info, this is the entire information that we are going to get, like which tool it has called, which agent it has connected to. So now from here you can see like that triage agent has connected to the priority agent first by passing all the same query that we had passed to the triage agent. So the priority agent responding to this query, and then it will give us the output that okay, since it is impacting all the users, the priority is high. Now what it has done next is it has connected to the team agent with the same query that we had given to the triage agent, and then the team has identified that this issue is likely involves some kind of a server side code, so it should be assigned to the backend team. And then lastly, it connected to the effort agent with the same query that we had given to the triage agent, and then it has evaluated that this effort should be medium, and this is kind of a justification which is given. So that means we can have one agent, but that one agent can connect to the multiple agents and then give the information. Okay. All right. So now let us come to the closure part. So let us move ahead and then let us look into the Microsoft Entra ID as well. So this is again one of the new preview functionality, but it is very much solid functionality which will help you to monitor your agents.
So let us now look at this Microsoft Entra Agent ID and why identity is critical in an agent-driven future. So as organizations adopt the agentic AI, the future workplace will include both the people and the AI agents working side by side. So when agents can access the data, call tools and take the actions, they need to be treated as a first class identities, just like users and applications. The Microsoft Entra Agent ID extend the Microsoft Trusted Identity Management and Security Systems to AI agent. So the first, it helps to manage the agent identities and the life cycle. So each agent gets a clear identity that can be created, updated, rotated, and retire. So this ensures the agents are not autonomous and can be tracked through their lifestyles. So, second, it enables the secure and govern access to resources. So, using the intra, agents only get the permissions they need. So, the following least privileges principles. So, access can be audited, controlled, and revoked, just like for the human users, reducing the risk and improving the compliance. So, third agents can be deployed out of the box using Copilot Studio and Microsoft Foundry. So, this makes it easy to create the agents that are identity aware from day one without the custom security plumbing. So, in simple terms, Microsoft Intra Agent ID ensures that as agents become a part of the workforce, they are identified, governed, and secure, bringing the trust, accountability, and the control to agentic AI at enterprise scale.
Right. So now let us see one demo of that, like from where we'll be able to see all those uh, agent identities. So we just have to go to the intra.microsoft.com in the same tenant where your agents are deployed to. And then from here, you should be able to see all of the agent IDs. So onto the left hand side here, you can see we have got agent ID. So we have got this agent ID, and then from this agent ID, here you will be able to see all of the identities of the user. For example, these are all of the agents that we have created so far into the Copilot Studio as well as using Microsoft Foundry. So what we can do with these agents is like we can just simply go onto those agents, and from there, as like we used to manage the owners, the roles, membership, even the single sign-on, conditional access, permissions on our users and resources. Same thing we can do on agent as well. So from here, you can see like we do have owners. We can assign the owners to this agent. We can also set the conditional access, like maybe policies onto this agent, like who can access, from where it can be accessed, whether it requires MFA, all those kind of a thing. We will be able to do it from here. Okay, so this is one place from where we'll be able to do everything. Okay, so but one thing quickly just wanted to highlight here is like this particular functionality as of today is only available with the agents which are created using Microsoft Foundry and Copilot Studio. But soon we should be able to see all of the other agents, for example, Security Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, or even the third-party agents that we build as of today. Okay, so right now only these two parts are covered there, but soon we should have even other parts also covered in the future. All right, so that was Entra ID, which is the first step in managing your agent identities in your organization to give you the full visibility and control over your what the agents can do inside of your ecosystem. All right, so with that, we are ending the session. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Hope you found it useful. So these are again our social media handlers to get in touch with us for further discussion. But thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing and comprehensive session regarding to Azure AI. So thank you a lot. It was and amazing teamwork from both of you. Really cool. So yeah, thank you. So I have a little question, but I think you could not show it, but you can say it on the line. So how do you handle human in the loop scenarios with his agents? So could you?
Correct. So yeah, but at least in the Copilot Studio, as of now, we can handle that scenario. But again, probably it is a very big topic. So if in case if you need any kind of an approvals to be done, in that case, we can do that handoff to the human. We can make the human into the loop, make the approval, and again pass that back to the agent. Because right now we are looking towards all these autonomous agents and everything, but obviously when it comes to the decision making, we want human. They should have a control. So in that case, we can pass on the control or hand off the control to the human, get their approvals, and again, the agent can resume back from there. So that functionality as of today is available with Copilot Studio.
Yeah, thank you. Amazing session. The next session is Klaus Bierschenk with Pimp Your Administration in nearly 4 minutes. We see you soon and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con here on the Azure and Entra stage. Again, with me, my colleague, friend, and the godmaster of Entra, Klaus Bierschenk, with the topic Pimp Your Administration. Klaus, the stage is yours.
I cannot hear you. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Perfect. So yes, sorry, Marcel, I didn't get your audio here. but when you can hear me and when you can see my screen, so then I think we are ready to go and to start into that session. Can you give me a thumb up? Perfect. Cool. Yes, I want to say hello, everybody, to that session today. We talk about privileged identity management, and I want to start with a quick question. So just as an idea, so what do you think, how many ID roles do we have today in the Entra environment? So I'm not sure if it is possible to have that chat here, or if you can unmute and discuss to me. It's also not necessary to give me an answer on that. So I just want to give you an idea on what we are talking here. So, so the point is that we have today in Entra ID 134 administrative roles, which can be assigned to users and to admins. And on top of this, we have in the Azure infrastructure also a huge number of roles, and these are more than 800. And you can imagine that this is a very big challenge for administrators to keep track on what are users doing here and what are they allowed to do in all these things. And yes, with this, that wonderful technology like privileged identity management comes into stage here, and it allows us to use just-in-time access, just enough access, and this is what we talk in the next 40 minutes. So before we start, just a quick introduction of myself. So Klaus Bierschenk, I'm from Germany and live in the south of Germany. Yes, and we have a tiny zoo here with cats and zoos and all these things. And I'm in the identity stack since many years. You can find me in the community. You do not hesitate to get in touch with me. We can discuss topics from that session or any other things that you want to discuss. Feel free to get in touch with me. Okay, so what is the agenda for today? So my idea is not just to tell you what is PIM and what can you do with PIM. So in my opinion, I think it makes more sense to have a practical demo environment to see you, okay, what are the challenges, what are the requirements there, and how can we manage this with PIM. And perfect for that is a school environment, because we have the entire structure in a school, then we have it in PIM, or we can use it in PIM. Then, of course, PIM is a powerful, very useful technology, but you can combine it in Entra ID with other technologies like protected actions, conditional access, and I will dig into this also in that session. And another very important element in PIM are PIM for groups. And what I see in my daily business on customer projects is that PIM for groups are very often misunderstood. And you can use it in a various way, and I will let you know how we can use it in the best way. And then, of course, we have many more things what we can talk about PIM. We have Security Copilot here. I have demos on this, and I will let you know at the end of the session what you can do on top of the topics that I have mentioned in my call here. Okay, so let me directly explain that similar environment, that school environment that we have here. So in that environment, we have school-wide settings. That school, you can see it like a tenant, like an Entra tenant. You have school admins, you have a tenant admin. You have rules and roles in that school, and you have it in, of course, in an Entra tenant. And in my example here, the requirements are that we do not have any permanent access and all the other things, what I can show you in that demo later. The next step here are the classes. We have many classes in our school. We have class teacher, we have students, and this is a big challenge for management, and I can show you how we can use this with PIM functionality. So this is not, you cannot reduce it on a school setup. You can use it in every company, but in my opinion, the school setup is perfect for that. So, and then we have, of course, sensitive, I will name it sensitive student support. So this is psychological support for the students and all these things. And this, in my opinion, needs additional protection on that involved groups and all these things. And all these topics are part of my scenario that I want to build here. So let us start with it, school-wide setup. So in PIM, you have any role in Entra ID, and you have a setup on, for example, a global admin or a security admin. And that setup lets you define what is required on activating eligible membership to that role. But you have just that one role. And when you have multiple requirements from different departments who all need access to these roles, and you have a difference here, you need different requirements, and you cannot do this. And this is why PIM for Groups comes into the game here, and you can use it for multiple global access setups. In our setup, we also do not touch any built-in role. We let them how they are provided by Microsoft. It's not necessary when we use groups and when we have groups. Yes, we have break class accounts, so they are not part of my demo here or what I want to explain, but they are important, and they have no eligible assignment in your PIM setup. They are active. They do not have any policies or things like that, and they are directly part of the global admin role assignments. The only exception, by the way. Then in our scenario, we don't want to have that the end user have access to the Entra Admin Center. This is a recommendation from Microsoft, from my side also, and you should also consider this, that you stop getting you end user access to the Entra Admin Center. I will let you know later what you can do to give them access, maybe a little bit or something like that, but we will discuss this later. And then the last thing that I want to show you here is that global admin activation is blocked on mobile devices. This is when conditional access comes into the game here. So we can combine both technologies together. Pretty cool, in my opinion. And this is what makes tools like PIM so really, really powerful. Okay, so let me directly jump into the first demo here. Let me see if my stuff's here. So, okay, perfect. So this is my Entra tenant here, and I want to start with you in the PIM dashboard. We can directly go over here and see the environment. So I will not let you know what is this and that. So this is self-explanation here in that case. So what I want to show you here are the Entra roles, and this is what I have mentioned before, because we have settings of all these roles. We have, for example, that security admin here, and that security admin, in that case, I can define what is required when I put an admin eligible to that role. What must that admin make to get this activated? I can say, okay, nothing is required, or MFA or anything else. So we have approval here at all these things. And this is what I have mentioned before. We have that security admin role just one time in the tenant. There's just one role, and we have just one setting here. We cannot say, okay, I have department A, they need an approval, or department B, they do not need an approval. All this is not possible. When you use this, you must go for groups. So this is the cool stuff here when we talk about privileged identity management, because we have that group setting also here in the dashboard, and groups are normally, or yes, normal user groups in Entra ID, but you must discover them. You must create them on a special way. When you create that group, you must say, okay, this is a protected group, and I want to add them to PIM. And when you have these groups integrated into your PIM setup here via discover groups, you can assign roles to them. This was the wrong group. So let me go for the config engineer, for example. So this group now has the same functionality than a role have, but this group has assignments from users, and these users are eligible to that group. And when they get membership to that group, then we have the power to say, okay, this group, for example, has a permanent assignment to, for example, global admin. And this is how it works. When I go to that environment here, I have that global admin, and I can see that, for example, it is global reader, user reader, and all these groups are assigned here to that role. This is very powerful, and this is what makes group membership in privileged identity management so powerful. Yes. When we discuss that activation, you have seen that you can say, okay, nothing is required on activation, or MFA is required, or unprotected action is required. And this can make sense in specific scenarios. And I have another demo here that I want to show you. When we activate a PIM role, which has a trigger on conditional access. So we start here with the conditional access dashboard. And what we need for this is an authentication context. In that authentication context, we define a label or a tag or something like that, that is just a string, nothing else. In my example here, it is hipconf PIM protection. It can any other label be. And the important thing here is that we use this authentication context as part of our conditional access policy. And when we open that conditional access policy here, we have that target resources assignment. And as part of that resource assignment with the target, we can specify an authentication context. And this conditional access policy is listening on that signal, that context. And now, when we are in privileged identity management, this is what I showed you before, we can also specify this authentication context. In that case, we use that group, and for that config engineer group, we have that settings for this group, and here we say, okay, when a user want to get member access here, I want to fire that hipconf protection authentication context, which is the combination of my conditional access policy. And this is really powerful. And this gives you a lot of flexibility in what is the requirement to get access into PIM groups. Second, please. Okay, so, and I have defined here in my policy that I will not allow activation of that group from a mobile device. And I have my iPhone here. And now when I go as a user, Langley, his name is Langley, when he uses his iPhone and when he tries to activate that PIM role, it says, no, not possible, because there is a restriction. So this is a German message here. So it says, so bad luck today, you cannot access this because it's the wrong device. On the other hand, when we go with the same user in the browser setup on his Mac client here, for example, yes, you can imagine it is, of course, possible here because our trigger or our allowance in that policy is specified on mobile devices. And yes, this is just an example on what you can do. I use that iPhone or smartphone example here. You can use any combination in that conditional access policy. You can specify, for example, trusted locations when you just want to only have access to your environment from your campus environment and not from outside, from the Starbucks or anywhere. Then you can specify it in a conditional access policy. And this is a cool setup, I think. And this is one combination what makes privileged identity very, very powerful. 1 second, please. Okay, yes, this is the school-wide tenant setting. We come later back to that Entra admin center access and all these things. But the next step that I want to show you here now is the class level access. And the class level access in a school has a couple of challenges, because not so big challenge is that we have the student in that AU. We can do this with the dynamic membership rule, as you maybe know this from dynamic groups. And on the other hand, we have administrators which are responsible with their role in that administrative unit. AUs, or administrative units, they are sometimes compared with OUs from Active Directory. The name is similar, but that's it. There's nothing combined. So OUs are, you have a hierarchy structure, you have inheritance and all these things. This is what you do not have in Entra ID with administrative units. It is a box, and you can assign members to that box, and you can assign administrative roles to that box to specify what are they allowed to do with all these members in that unit. That's it, nothing more. It's very simple, but very powerful. But we have a challenge in that school context here. So that challenge is, it is the school end year turnover. So when school year ends, the class teachers are moved, they go to another class, and when they are admin to a specific AU, a lot of things must be redesigned. That existing role memberships must be removed and new assignments must be created. And this is very, very, yes, it's error prone, it's annoying, you don't want to have this. And what you want to do in that case is you want to have it automatically. Is there a way with that administrative unit default behavior? No, unfortunately not. But there are other ways how we can fix this. And this is what I want to show you in my next demo. So we are here in my Entra tenant again back, and we see administrative units are here at the role and admin section. Administrative units, I have a few of them here. And in my example, I have two classes. It's the class 7b and 8a. And that setup has these members here. We have the dynamic membership rule. I defined this with an extension attribute. You can combine this with any other attributes, but all these users who have this classification here are member of that administrative unit. When I open this, I have that roles and administrators task here. And this is what I mentioned before. It is not possible to say, okay, I have my users, and when they have a special characterization on the attribute setting or whatever, they are allowed to access or to administer this administrative unit. It's all manually. We have to assign all the teachers, all the responsibles for that administrative unit manually to that administrative unit. And this is what I mentioned before. That's not fun. That's not what you want to have. But there are a couple of ways how you can make it a little bit more automatically. And to use this, we have two technologies or two functions, which are governance functions. And the first thing what we have here, what we must have, is access packages. Sorry, please. So I have two access packages here, and I have for each class my access package. And I have it very simple here in that scenario. I have for each class just that PIM group as part of the resource roles in that access package. This is the first thing that we need. So every member in my tenant who has this access package assigned has a membership to that PIM group. This is the first thing. But this is not the action which makes it automatically. The automatically mechanism here is or comes with lifecycle workflows. In a lifecycle workflow, I can specify, okay, I have triggers and I can specify what must happen when specific actions are happen in the environment. And when we open that workflows here, I have for each class my own workflow. And let us see this with the 7b here. They are all the same, but I have these tasks as part of my workflow. And then when that workflow is fired to a specific user, these things will happen. So the first thing is that it is removed from existing access packages, and then another access package is assigned. That's it. And to which user is this workflow assigned? This is defined under the execution the condition. So we have that department here, for example, and we can specify other attributes here. And what we also must specify here, these are the scope details. The scope details specify a little bit more in detail who is the audience to that workflow. And in my case, I have that value 7b and teacher in these attributes. That's it. And when a teacher, for example, in my tenant, let me jump over to one of the teachers here. So when a teacher here when you change, for example, that property here, the first thing is the employee type, it is a teacher, and you can use that department. So this is very powerful. You can use also extended attributes or any attribute that what keeps in your mind, so what you can imagine. So this helps you to build any company regularity or process environment or whatever you want to have here. Okay, so this is just one thing. I have a disadvantage on that. The disadvantage is that you must have a governance license. Governance license is on top of P2, and access packages and lifecycle workflow, they are not part of the P2 license. You must pay more things. But at the end, there are other things in the Entra environment which you can use to make that happen. Logic app, for example, or anything like this. But this is my message here today. You are not allowed, you are not be able to make this automatically. Like that membership dynamically is possible, that role assignment is not. That's it. This is a challenge for me when we make this automatically, that assignment on an administrative unit basis. So the next thing here is that sensitive student user support. So how should I explain this? So in my opinion, it starts with access. Of course, at the end, we must have the data protected with whatever purview or SharePoint permissions, all these things. But it starts with access, and we have the possibility in Entra ID to protect groups and user objects and all these things. And this is one of my favorite features in Entra ID, and it is very powerful. I love this. So we can specify specific users or admins which have the possibility to touch specific objects, and we can exclude global admins, for example. Sorry. And we can also, or we should, make an alert on this, because when I'm a global admin and I will touch a user object and I'm not allowed to do this, I can see, oh, why can I not edit that user object? Because it is protected. And when I then, as a global admin, go ahead, and when I give me that access, it's possible. As a global admin, I can do anything. Then I can specify an alert on this. So this is possible. And I wrote a blog post on that topic, how you can keep an eye on changes in your environment, like break last account, login, editing conditional access policies. All these are topics which you can control or monitor, and then you can specify, okay, what should happen when somebody does this, like sending an SMS on email or whatever. So in our scenario here with that school environment, I will say it's definitely required to have a group, and that on all this group is used for security privileges, and we want to protect this group. And this is what I mentioned before. Of course, it is necessary to have additional topics here, because I cannot protect the content. I cannot, in Entra, I can only say, okay, I have memberships in group and all these things, but this is where we start with the access, and this is, I will show you, very powerful. Let me go back to my tenant, and we have, again, that administrative units here. When I go to roles and admins, you can see that I'm here logged in as Klaus. I am a global admin at the moment. And when I navigate to that administrative unit, the protected one here, I'm not allowed to do anything here in that administrative unit. When I touch that student 5, for example, you can see that we have that option to edit the properties is not enabled. I cannot delete it, and all these things. This is cool, this is powerful, and this helps you to make a little bit more protection in your environment. And the first idea that a person can have when you say, oh, it is protected in that administrative unit, you can say, okay, it is only protected in that administrative unit. But that's not the case. The case is that this object is protected. It is in that AU protected objects, but in the entire tenant, it is protected. So I'm a global admin. I will leave all these blades here. And one more thing. Okay, that's it. And now we are here in the users Entra wide settings. And when I navigate to that student, it is protected. I cannot touch this object. This is a cool feature, in my opinion, and it is very helpful how to protect objects in Entra ID. Okay, yes, these are just a few aspects and topics on how we can set up a school environment. So many of them you can fulfill with PIM alone, or you can use additional technologies like lifecycle workflows or conditional access policies, and all these things are possible. Another very important object type in Entra or in PIM are PIM for groups. When you have a group in PIM, this is what I have mentioned at the beginning of my session, you can have that PIM group in the privileged identity management. And it is an object there. And with that object, you can use it in a way like you have that administrator with an active assignment to that group. Then it is always in that group. And then that group has an eligible assignment to a role. This is one option. The other option looks like similar, but is completely different. And this is a little bit more powerful at the end. It is that the user is eligible to that group. He or she can go to PIM dashboard and say, okay, I want to activate that group. And then with that activation, it is automatically assigned to all these active assignments which that group have. For example, when you have a help desk team, and this help desk members must have access to the license admin, to the user admin, to the whatever admin, you can assign these admin roles to one group, and with one eligible activation, that member has all these roles. And remember, we have a specific setting for that group. We can say, okay, what is required on activation, protected action or not, MFA or not, approval or not, how long is the activated time in that group, and all these things can be defined as part of that PIM group. So there is not a good way and a bad way. There are two ways how we can activate this. It depends on your requirement, on the requirement of the admin, what he wants to have. To go a little bit more in detail here, I wrote a blog article on that because you can use it in a various way, and Microsoft on top has a pretty cool article, what I find, and it is also mentioned here, which you can read to have more details. I have an example here on how we can use that scenario that I have explained on the left side. So that user is assigned to that group, and that group has an eligible assignment to that role. And it looks like, it looks like this, that we have, when we start here in the privileged identity management, we have our groups here, and we have that test group. And with the test group, I have active assignments for, in that case, the user is Forjahn, and he is completely every time member in that group. But the group itself has assignments to roles, and these assignments, this is what I mentioned before, are eligible. And it is how, when I, as Forjahn in that example, go to the PIM dashboard, and when I want to see what are my roles, I will see all the roles which are part of that group. You can use that scenario just as a scenario what you can see to combine multiple roles to a user. That's it. And it is activated here permanently, and at the end, it is not so powerful than the example what we have seen on the other side here, because it makes no sense to have, I cannot activate a couple of groups on one step. This is what I can do with that strategy when I go that way here on the right side. It's up to you. You should consider what are you want to do, which is the best strategy for you. Both had advantages and disadvantages, so but it depends on your requirement in your specific environment. Okay, so one question. So how many minutes do we have left, Marcel? I guess it is perfect.
So we have 50 minutes. Could you hear me?
Okay, so I have a couple of things that I want to share here with you. So things you should also know, which are very important when we talk about privileged identity management. So maybe when you use privileged identity management and you are on the dashboard and you make an activation and you see, where's my activation? It's not there. Why takes it too long? Sometimes you can refresh your browser window to have that role activated, or sometimes you must close the browser, open the browser, log out, log in. All these things you can use to make it easy. You can use that token refresh endpoint here. When you call this, your local token in the browser will be refreshed, will be renewed, and with this you are part of that role. When you are in that situation that nothing will help, so call this URL, and then it is that role will be visible for you. It is not officially documented. I don't know why. I found this in a chat with Microsoft support, but it works. Okay, so this is what I mentioned at the beginning of my talk. So it is recommended that you don't have end user access to your tenant. It is a user setting in the Entra Admin Center where you can block this. You can restrict access to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. When this is restricted, I am, as a normal user, cannot go to entra.microsoft.com. I'm blocked. But what when I am a user with an admin role, but this is not assigned already, and I want to assign this, I have to go to the Entra dashboard. In that case, we have a couple of direct URLs. You can use it via the Azure Portal or via the Admin Center Portal. Both links are at the end of my slide deck in an appendix, and then you can directly call this activation page because it is whitelisted. When you set this option, this restricted access is forbidden. It is not the case for these direct URLs. There's another thing what I find what is very important. Both URLs, they will not work with the admin portal target in a conditional access policy. In a conditional access policy, you can say as a target, my admin portal. And when you specify a block policy for a bunch of users, they cannot use these URLs. They are also forbidden. It is blocked in any way, and this works not when you use this conditional access policy target. It's just important to know. And a very fast way to get access to PIM is aka.ms/PIM. This is also whitelisted. I find this is very cool and very helpful. But there are more things that you should know which are maybe important. So in my personal opinion, I miss PIM in my access. Maybe you know myaccess.microsoft.com. When you are an AU admin, when you are responsible manager for access packages, all these things are managed in myaccess.microsoft.com. But why is this not included in PIM? It's not possible at the moment. Maybe some things will change in the future here. I don't know. But this was very helpful when I, as an admin, go to my access and when I have all that PIM stuff there to activate my roles to make more things. By the way, myaccess.microsoft.com is not an admin portal target. This is what I mentioned on the slide before. When you have a block policy on admin portals, this block policy works not with myaccess because myaccess is not an admin portal. Yes, so this is not my favorite topic. So because I'm not a licensing specialist in Microsoft, but when we talk about licensing in PIM, it's very easy. Every user who's benefiting something in PIM must be licensed. This is, of course, every user who has an assignment in PIM, but these are also all the members which are member in my privileged access group. These are all the member in privileged groups and all these things. And for them, you must have a PIM or a P2 license, which is part of PIM. Another thing what can be confusing here is when you clean up PIM groups. So let me jump back to my tenant here, and I will show you what I mean. When we are here in PIM, and when we have the groups here, so these are the groups in PIM, but I have all these groups also in my group section in Entra ID. And I can delete this group here, but when I then go back to my privileged role group, it appears here. And this is by design. This is by design, and you cannot remove it immediately there, because what's going on under the hood on here when you make that privileged group available? It is a reference new object which is created in the PIM environment, and there are cleanup processes under the hood in the Microsoft backend which cleans up these PIM groups. It happens every 24 hours. This means when you delete a group in Entra and it is a privileged group in PIM, it is deleted there after 24 hours. It is important, but there is no risk with this because that group is not part of access tokens. It cannot be used anymore because that original group in Entra is deleted. But it is important to know, why is this not immediately deleted? Okay, so auditing is also a very important topic here. Auditing means, in that case, who got access to a role or what's happened in my environment, who makes membership changes and all these things. And we have two areas where that is audited. It is the first thing I can show you here in the PIM dashboard. Again, we have 1 second. Oops. So we must differentiate what would we do here. We have the resource audit. Resource audit lists you all the activations of roles, but a group is not a role. Group roles are not, or activation on PIM groups are not shown here. So why? So no, there is. So this is not a. It is a group change, and when you activate a PIM group for your user, it is a group member change, and this will not appear here in the dashboard from PIM under the resource audit. Here you can see only in the. You can see here only the activations of that roles. So when you want to see all the other things with what's happened with groups, this is an audit change, and this can be found under the audit page, which is here part of that monitoring and health stuff. So in the audit logs. So this is where you can see all these things. Okay, so last but not least, Security Copilot. It's Security Copilot. We have it in Entra ID. And does it make sense to have Security Copilot in combination with PIM? So in my opinion, we have other technologies where it makes more sense. For example, the conditional access optimization agent, which is based on AI technology. This makes a lot of sense, but nevertheless, we have the possibility in the Entra Admin Center to use Security Copilot, and one thing is here. So I'm here logged in as Langley, and when I ask Security Copilot, so list my eligible Entra directory roles which are managed by PIM. So it takes a while to let me see what roles I have here. And this can be helpful because you can activate it directly from the Security Copilot. So the answer here is that I'm global admin, I'm security admin and conditional access admin. And when I now say, okay, I want you to change conditional access policies. So can you give me the least privileged role which is assigned to me via PIM? Then you can do it directly here and you can activate that role directly. This can make more sense. So I am, as an admin, I will not go over Security Copilot to activate my role, but there are other situations, from my opinion, where it can make a lot of sense. So I can say, okay, what are all my roles that I am active in at the moment, and all these things. So nice to have, much space for improvement. What not works is the combination with groups. I have tested it. It's not possible, but we are at the beginning of Security Copilot in combination with PIM, and not everything is possible at the moment. But these things that I shared here, they are very, very cool. Okay, so wrap up, takeaway, my last slide. So what should you take away? So important, in my opinion, you should consider just-in-time and just-enough access with two options. One-to-one means one group, one role, or on a multiple way, one group with multiple roles. It depends on your requirements. Administrative units, so get in touch with them, play with them. It is not critical for your production environment. You do not need a test lab or something like that. And in combination with PIM groups, it is really, really cool and powerful. And yes, automation is limited, but there are ways to fill this gap. And last but not least, a couple of things you can read on top of that session. And this is my last slide that I have. And when you have questions, I do not know how many time we have here to have a dialogue. If it is not possible, you can get in touch with me afterwards. No problem. And now I give it back to Marcel.
So, Klaus, could you hear me now?
Unfortunately, Marcel, sorry for interrupting you, but I cannot hear you. I don't know what is wrong here. Very sad. I cannot hear anything.
Click in the private chat. Mirko, could you show something here? Check the audio settings, please, Klaus. The wheel. So where's an Klaus? Jetzt. Das war weg. So, could you show this again, Mirko? This was too short. Could you hear me now?
Okay.
No way? Oh, so sorry. So when I write you a question. Wait a second. Okay. So sorry. So you couldn't hear me, but I would say, Klaus, I thank you. This was an amazing session. A lot of deep dive. And yeah, our next session today is David Pazdera with the topic Azure Verified Modules and Private Modules, a powerful combo. Klaus, have a nice day. I'm so sorry that you have problems with your speakers. And yeah, we see us soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Are you tired of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.FM podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking, revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.FM podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.FM now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.FM. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today, here on the Azure and Entra stage with me is David Pastera with the topic Azure Verified Modules and Private Modules, a powerful combo. The stage is yours, so if you have a problem, ask us, we help you.
Yep, thank you so much. So, hello friends, and welcome to this session where we will explore an exciting world of infrastructure as code and modules, and what Azure Verified Modules really are, and how can they help you to scale in your organization to adopt infrastructure as code and GitOps practices. I'm really excited to be presenting an M365 Con, so I am grateful for the opportunity to be presented as a speaker. A little bit about me. I work as a solution architect in a company called Segal, which is an IT company focusing on energy sector here in Norway. I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Azure. I do run a few meetup groups here locally, attend and speak at conferences, and I love to be involved in many different areas. If you want to reach out, feel free to use my universal handle across GitHub, LinkedIn. I also have profile at Sessionize, of course, and Speaker Deck. I do occasionally blog at azurescholar.cloud, which I try to position as my brand, but I'm not super good at it. So it's one of my New Year's resolution is to become better in my own PR. But it is really about you and the community rather than myself. So what we will do today is I divided this talk into two sections. One where we look into some important concepts, do a bit of a refresher on what the infrastructure as code modules really are and how they can help us. And as you know, probably there are two dominant tools that we can always look into. It's Bicep that is focusing on Microsoft Azure, and then there's Terraform, which is much more cloud and vendor agnostic. Then we will dive into the AVM and how it can help you to start fast or start using infrastructure as code in an efficient way. And then the core of my talk is how would you go about combining those great assets that AVM project provides with your own special configuration and infrastructure as code modules that you probably need to build for your organization. And of course, the second part will be dedicated to a demo where I will show you everything. Everything that I will be showing and demoing is available on my public GitHub repo, so you can easily start with exploring it yourself. So I hope you will enjoy it, and I will, of course, look forward to the Q&A section where we will hopefully respond and react to your questions. So just a very quick intro to some of you who are more in the world where you don't deal with infrastructure. So infrastructure modules are, you think of them as a packages. It contains declaration of your infrastructure, the way you want it to be deployed. So we are talking always about declarative languages that instead of you explaining how to get to the desired state, you describe the desired state in a much friendlier way. And then that tool and the framework and the language that you use will make it so. So we are talking about files that are reusable, and you can use them across maybe different projects. So that's the whole idea. It's the reusability. And sometimes people refer to it as a dry principle, do not repeat yourself. And what you can do is that you embed your requirements into the module. You can really be strict. You can allow certain configuration to be used only. Maybe you have some special security and compliance requirements from your organization, so you can bake them in. So whoever is consuming your module, they cannot change the values if they are calling that module to something that might not be secure, or it might not be really applicable to your own organization. So we always or often talk about something like a contract that you have defined inputs for the module. That's how the module is still flexible enough to cater for different like naming standards, etc. But also it can always, with same inputs, it will always produce the same outcome. And then you have outputs from the module when it gets deployed. So you can maybe pass on the values from that output to the next stage. So that's very flexible. So in short, you can think of it as a software packages for infrastructure as infrastructure as code world. And then you have different authoring styles for creating modules. Either you want to allow maximum customization, and then your contract contains a lot of input parameters. But sometimes you want to be a bit more rigid and, on the other hand, simplify the consumption. So people don't need to think about 50 parameters they need to have some values for. Maybe you use t-shirt sizing or some other standards like silver, bronze, platinum, and they can easily choose that. And behind the scenes, that category will translate to a lot of these values that those resources that you package into your module need in order to deploy it without requesting from the user all that long list of input parameters. When it comes to terminology, both Bicep with this nice muscly logo and Terraform, it's a bit of a challenge because what the Bicep calls parameters, it's variables in Terraform. So it's For you who are using one of these DSL languages, it's probably easier to always relate to the right term. But for someone like me and many of my peers, we've been using both languages for different projects and initiatives. It's sometimes a hassle to always remember that something you declare differently in one as opposed to the other one. So just for your overview, this is how you would use these key terms in both Terraform and Bicep. And when it comes to structuring a module, which essentially is just a folder or directory in your file system with a set of files, the big difference is that Terraform is known for the flexibility that you can sort of stretch or distribute different parts of that declaration into different Terraform files, so .tf files, and it will always take them and combine them together when you're running a deployment. Versus in Bicep, you always need to have one entry point, that kind of main.bicep. It's a agreed naming convention. It could be called differently, but when you are deploying, need to point to that main file where you are listing all the other components that you have. So that's a big difference. There are some good practices that I will come back to later when you are creating those modules and testing and verifying them, so you make sure that they always work. For instance, you want to have a good formatting, which doesn't have a big impact on functionality, but of course readability, so people who are reviewing your code understand what it does and it's easy to navigate. That's still important. Linting or validation is crucial, because you don't want to try and run a deployment of a module that has some syntactical mistakes. And then you also, if we are working with modules that are stored externally, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can use things like Bicep Restore or Terraform init or get to basically pull those modules from an external place to your machine. When it comes to calling the modules, Bicep and Terraform has quite a big difference. As you know, Terraform is much more mature because it has been much longer on the market. So there is a long list of endpoints you can point to when you are calling your module. As long as your tool can reach them, it's absolutely fine to use all of them. But the most commonly used ones is Terraform registry. And on the Bicep side, it is a Bicep registry as well. Both have public and private flavors. There is a special way how you can publish your Bicep modules into Azure directly, into a subscription and resource group. It's called template specs, which has some pros and cons, but we will not talk about this one today. When are consuming the module, meaning that you want to declare it in your deployment file, you see that the difference is not huge. Both tools use something called symbolic name in case of a host pool or VPC. It's like an internal name of that object that you then can use later on in the code and easily get to properties or outputs of that module deployment. And Bicep uses this kind of long address, which points to a registry, to the actual package, and to a version or a tag. In Terraform, it's a bit more structured, as you can see on this slide. For publishing modules, there are two things. Bicep does have a public registry that is hosted by Microsoft, but not unlike Terraform, where anyone can actually publish their own modules. Both companies and individuals, they will be always labeled as community contributions in that registry. Microsoft doesn't allow you or anyone to publish to that public registry except themselves. They will allow you to contribute, but not really publish directly. But you can use a private registry in Azure, there is a service called Azure Container Registry, which is primarily for containers, but it's also being used for storing Bicep modules. All you need to think about is also some permissions and how you authenticate to that Azure service. You need to have an access token from Microsoft Graph or Microsoft Entra. And this is just a short example on how you would go about it and publish. I'm still comparing Bicep and Terraform in this talk, but as you can see, I'm more leaning towards Bicep because I use that tool in the demo. So just to give a recap, on Terraform you have both that public registry that I mentioned, and if you are a customer that has a Terraform cloud account, you can spin up your own private registry that only your organization has access to. So it has some pros and cons, but it is a paid feature. Or a Terraform Cloud is not free, with some limitations. It is, but when you start adopting, you of course need to pay. So now we have that kind of recap. So what are Azure Verified Modules? So it is a Microsoft-wide initiative how to set standard for their own infrastructure as code modules that they have been over many years distributing to different places. If you remember Azure Quick Start repo with ARM templates, trying to address a lot of issues for people that really try to adopt ARM templates, and obviously Bicep supersedes ARM templates. Behind the scenes, it still transpiles into ARM and then sends it to the ARM API, but it's much easier and enjoyable to write your infrastructure in Bicep language rather than directly in JSON. So the way ARM Azure Verified Modules are sort of driven is that it is a single initiative across entire Microsoft to make sure that they support both Bicep and Terraform, and they are publishing modules that have two main types. There are some other types, but either you have resource module, which is for a single resource and all related components, and then you have a pattern module, which is more like a full solution that consumes those resource modules under the hood, but builds something more comprehensive, something that is more usable than spinning up a single storage account or a single virtual machine. So it is really an initiative that has changed the way that Microsoft customers and partners have been sort of reshaping their infrastructure as code practice. I believe it's super useful. One of the big changes is that if you use Azure Verified Modules, you are covered by Microsoft customer support. So if you have issues with those modules, obviously you can file an issue in a GitHub repo for the AVM project. But if you have support agreement with Microsoft, you can also raise a ticket in the Azure Portal for that. All the AVMs are aligned with some specifications and definition of a standard that they set very early in the process. And obviously there are some Bicep or Terraform specific topics, but they have like a common set of principles that they all those two sort of areas always come together. And they have up to date, those modules are keeping up the pace with the innovation in Azure. So if there are some preview features, they really try to make sure that you can use a new version of that specific module that actually allows you to use that feature. So it's very much fast-paced development of the modules, both for the existing, but they also have a process for introducing new modules, either when a new Azure service comes up, or if they need to build a new solution. And if you're familiar with Azure Architecture Center, one of the bold ambitions for this AVM core team is to make sure that all the reference architectures in that center are sort of linked to some pattern module in AVM. So that would be also very, very, very good. All the modules in AVM are very well documented. They have some examples on how to use them, how to consume them in different ways. And they have very comprehensive testing framework on how they make sure that they are valid, they are actually deploying for every time they are introducing a change in a particular AVM module. They are running a flow or workflow where they are deploying the content of that module to a test environment and validating if everything is deployed correctly. After that, they remove those resources and clean up. So it is very well tested. They're using a combination of different tools. Like if you're familiar with PS Rule for Azure, it is a way how you can test your code against well-architected framework and its practices. And as I mentioned, it is not open for a direct publishing from the community. All the modules needs to be owned by Microsoft employees, which is, I believe, a good rule because you can chase the people internally if you have issues or your customers and the community has issues with the modules you own. It's much easier to chase people internally that are employed rather than some external owners. And you as a community member, you can create issues for existing modules, and then you can propose some improvements, some features. You can fork the repo and you can contribute through pull request, but it needs to be some existing module that someone from Microsoft has created, and it's owned by that. So it's if we say that AVM is the next best thing after sliced bread, then why would you need private modules? So I thought about it a long time ago that AVMs are great, but you need to consume them as they are. You have a lot of flexibility when it comes to those inputs in the contract that I mentioned. But what if you need to inject certain properties that should always be true, like your internal standards or compliance requirements, and you don't want to, or you can't, in this case, publish the modules externally. So what you can do, you sometimes need to deviate from AVM because they introduce a bug, and you need to really get it fixed because you depend on that module in your production. And it might take time for the AVM team to really fix the bug, so you can really publish an alternative to that AVM module in your private registry, which is something we're going to talk about. And then it will be much easier for you to fix that bug yourself and continue using that private module in your environments. And after the AVM team fixes it, you can just swap back to the AVM module directly. But the main benefit I see in using those private modules while still keeping AVMs as the building blocks and treat that as an upstream for your development work is that you can get the best of both worlds. You can rely on those as packages in software development, but then you at the same time inject whatever needs to be customized that is a good fit for your internal teams. So in a way, we can think of it as a platform engineering discipline where you are building and publishing those private modules internally for your teams, DevOps teams that can then consume them. And the way that private module library looks like is that you create an Azure container instance in some subscription that will be the target. Then you have a repo with the source code with the bicep definition of those modules, and then you have a publishing pipeline or workflow that uses that container registry. And inside those private modules, you are referring to AVM modules. You don't really write them from scratch. So again, you are combining the power of AVM modules that are published through that AVM project and repository, but then you are packaging them and enhancing them with your own logic, your own preferred configuration, and maybe some security hardening. So the building blocks of that private modules library is, of course, the container registry. Every module will, in terminology of ACR, will be seen as a repository, and every new version that you publish will be a new tag. And I will show you in the demo how you can easily build a way how you can be publishing new versions, either major, minor, or patch versions for every module that you have in your registry or your repository. The authentication is through Microsoft Entra, and then you have some authorization through RBAC roles. So the least privileged roles you use, and we always use, is ACR pull and push. That's how you make sure that you don't give the automation too permissive rights to operate in your environment. Then you have a code repo. I will show you the structure of my GitHub repo where my private modules library lives. And then, of course, you follow the same principles with branching when you're introducing either new modules or you're fixing existing modules with new versions. So the second piece, in order for this to be scalable and reliable, is that you have those CI/CD pipelines. In my case, I'm using GitHub Actions workflow, where I declare the way how each module and bicep code needs to be tested thoroughly through linting to, you can use that PS rule, or you can use some specialized security tools like Sneak that support bicep in this case, or it could be Terraform. There is a long list of tools you can use in the Terraform world. And then the workflow will always, when it's triggered, will do that thorough testing and will tell you, you need to fix something before you try to publish. And in the end, if all the tests succeed, you can publish it to that registry. The last building block, which is optional, but I always think about end users and how I can help them to really understand what those modules are, is that you can build a quick and easy web catalog that will list the modules and the documentation. So the solution that we use for this one is that we auto-generate documentation using PS Docs tool, which is the same authors and the team behind PS Rules. They are PowerShell-based tools that can work with your bicep code. And then we use, so once we generate those markdown files for each module, we render them to HTML using MKDocs, which is a very popular generator. And we publish it to a very cheap service, Azure Static Apps, because we don't expect that website to be dynamic. We don't need that. So it's really good for static content. Of course, we could also use GitHub Pages, which is another great free tool. And the principle is that each module has its own workflow, but we use some clever ways on how to make sure that we don't repeat ourselves in declaring those workflow configurations in GitHub. So I think without further ado, let's switch from slides to a demo. So this is the link to the repository, and the first place where I want to stop is the website for AVM. So if you want to bookmark it, there is an easier shortcut. It's aka.ms/AVM, and you will land exactly in this page. You can go through all the introduction and specification, but if you just want to quickly check what kind of modules are published, you see that you have Bicep and Terraform, you have the resource modules, and you can search for any particular module you like. And if you say, this is what I want, it will redirect you to the actual source code where all these modules are hosted, and it will give you a lot of additional information, and you can actually look at that Bicep code directly, or Terraform, depending what you prefer. So let's jump into my repo. This is how it's structured. So first of all, I have infrastructure directory where I use Bicep, of course, to deploy a few components. I need to really power this private modules library, and I mentioned those. So you need a resource group, of course. You can work with an existing resource group in this deployment, but since I'm specifying the deployment to be scoped to subscription, then I'm also creating that resource group. And then I need two additional things. I need that container registry. So here I'm calling an AVM module, the public registry, and an AVM module there. And I'm doing the same, but this time it's for that Azure Static Web Apps. So I have both components living in a subscription. And that infrastructure deployment has its own representation in deploy private modules library components. So you can see there is a pipeline that simply validates that Bicep code and then deploys it to Azure with help from secrets. I pasted into the repository configuration, and behind the scenes it's using a managed identity with OIDC federated credentials. So I don't actually store any secrets or passwords directly in GitHub. These are just references to tenant ID, application ID, and subscription ID that I'm targeting. So it's very secure. So, and then the core, of course, is the modules, where I have the pattern modules. For some reason, if I want to introduce my own source modules, resource modules, sorry, I could have that other directory here as well, but I'm only focusing on pattern modules that combine some resource modules together. And then each module has its own directory. So you can see there is a deploy.bicep or main.bicep. It's really doesn't make a difference with the declaration. And again, you can see I'm calling the modules from the public registry. I just need to make sure that I'm using the version that I need to support all the features that that module does. And then there is a version.json file, which helps me to determine if I'm working on an improvement for an existing module. It helps me to determine if I'm publishing a new major, minor, or just patch version. So of course, this requires some instructions for the engineering team that works with such private library. And then there was this underscore template folder, which I will show you right in a minute. It is for me the way how I can automate the creation of a new module. If I come to this project and I want to introduce a new module, I don't need to think about what files do I need for each module and how to make sure that it will come with that automation CI/CD pipeline. It will be sourced from this modules or template directory. So maybe it will make sense if I show you how this could work. So with every good development work, I should start with an issue. So new con module, assign it to myself, create, and then I can then link, if I create a feature branch, which is definitely something I will do, I can link it to this issue. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Create branch, and then I will switch to Visual Studio Code. I already have that repo opened. Yeah, and I'll now switch, hopefully in a minute. Now I should be switched to that feature branch. Right. So then the first step after I make sure that I don't work with the main branch, because there should be, of course, a protection rule that will prevent me to commit and push directly to the main. There should be always a pull request. I will run a script that I have stored in the scripts, which is new private module. We don't have time to go through the entire code. It's 70 lines, but you will be able to explore it yourself. So I will just run new. And I will give it 2. So I'm specifying the name of the module. It will obviously follow it and create a directory or a folder with that name. And its a module type is pattern. So what happened after I ran the script is that it created a new folder under modules pattern path, which contains an empty, almost empty bicep file where I can fill in the details, things like metadata that will help me then when I generate the documentation for the people to understand what it does. So it could be something like M365 con to deployment, whatever it is. And then I would be populating different sections with when I will be authoring that module, I will be doing that but obviously we don't have time for that, watching me to type a lot of code. So as in any good cooking show, I'm going to replace it with some code that I pre-created for this. I will save it. The version, I'm keeping the default, so it will be published with version 0.10. And then what it also did, that script, it created a new workflow that will do exactly what I need. It will react to any changes to this specific module and deploy the bicep. It will run some validations. And if I'm merging to a main branch, it will also do the deployment. And in the end, it will generate the documentation. So let's close this. Now I can hopefully see all 3 files to be changed. I add them. I'll use GitHub Copilot to suggest a commit message, which I love. And then I can push to the main branch. Now, if I come back to the repo, it should suggest that I have a new content. So I will just quickly add this pull request. And it should trigger the workflow, which we can look at in the actions. Might take some time. Okay. Says all checks have passed. So I will merge it, and then we will watch what the pipeline does. Yeah, as you can see in this GitHub workflow, I have 3 jobs that are linked together. So first it does linting, and if there are sort of declared test configuration, it also runs PS rule and gives me feedback. It if it's a main branch and it comes from a pull request, it will then publish the module into the registry, and then in the end it will generate the documentation in form of those markdown files, and it will create a pull request for me to review that change in the documentation. And when I approve that, it will trigger another workflow that will update that web catalog that I mentioned earlier. So while it's running, I can show you, this is very simplified. Of course, you can play with the content and the look. MKDocs is super flexible. I particularly like material for MKDocs, which is very nice. But the idea was that you have this like a list of modules, and then you can click and copy the sort of the path to that module in your private registry. So anyone who is consumer, not you're now in the, I'm still in the role of a publisher trying to publish a new module, but as a consumer, you will be able to explore each module and the documentation rendered in this nice HTML and see, what parameters are expected, which ones are required, which ones are optional, and have some default values, and then some idea on how you would create a parameter file if you use still JSON. Of course, it would be nice if it also shows the bicep param version of the same. And here in Azure, we can go inside and try to see if I have. Yes, I can already see that the new module has been published. So it went through all the way. So here I see that there is 0.010 version already available. What I now need to do is to go back to pull requests and review the changes that the other workflow for documentation generation did. So it creates markdown files in two places, one in the directory where the module lives, just so they are in the same place. But also the second copy is under the docs folder, which is a source for MKDocs to do the rendering and everything. So yeah, it looks nice. MKDocs really does a great job with that. So I submit it for review. It looks good. And then I can merge. And it will generate that new page for me. If it will take a minute, but it will hopefully finish that publishing job. Right. So while we're waiting, if I switch the hat for a minute and try to now think of me as a consumer, as an engineer who wants to use those private modules, I will just switch back to Visual Studio Code. All I need in my project, in a blank repo where I will be probably creating infrastructure directory with deployed with bicep. All I need in order to be able to reach out to that private registry is a bicep config file where I can, well, it's not really needed. You can always refer to a full path, but you have something called module aliases in bicep configuration, where instead of giving a full path every time you want to call a module, you just make these kind of like shortcuts. So you can then call REST modules registry, and it will know that it goes to modules.res path, and then you just append the module name and the version or tag. Now I can see that the deploy job was completed. There is one small catch though. If I switch back and go to, you see that it's missing from the navigation. So that's something that always forget that, and it's something you can automate. But in mk-docs YAML file, in the configuration, you see you have this navigation section where you, in order for you to add that new module to the navigation, you would need to introduce a new line and a point to the markdown file. So this is missing, but we could easily find that, go to that path if we just append it the right path to the M365 con. What was it? 2. So it would still show you the page. Let me quickly find it. But it's just missing from the. It's missing con 2. It's missing from the navigation. M365. Nope, I'm probably typing it wrong. Never mind. Okay, so that was me trying to consume that module. So one thing is that configuration bicep. The other thing is that if I'm working in my workstation in VS Code or CLI or any other editor, I need to be able to reach out to that registry, if you remember. So on the Azure side, in the container registry configuration, you need to remember to grant permission to your engineers so they can easily access this, which for humans is kind of easy way to fix it. You introduce a group in Microsoft Entra, you will add and remove people from it, and then this group will be granted ACR pull permissions or RBAC role for this registry. But how do you deal with automation if that engineer creates their own deployment pipeline or workflow in GitHub or Azure DevOps? Then you would need to find a way how you can automate onboarding of those pipelines to that registry. And that's something we've been working with my team, and there is also a way how you can do that. But it's just to keep in mind that the pipeline, when it runs, always needs some workload identity that has a permission to deploy to a target subscription or a resource group, but it also needs to have permission on that container registry if it lives somewhere else in a different subscription to be able to pull the modules and sort of build that final deployment template. Because in the end of the day, the ARM templates and how it works with modules is that each module is injected to that one big ARM template in form of a nested deployment. Okay. I think I covered all the topics from the demo. So let me switch quickly to the slides. And I mentioned there are a couple of challenges with access management to the registry. It's also about the lifecycle management of those, let's call them upstream modules living in the AVM and project and the public registry hosted by Microsoft. How do you make sure that you are using the latest and greatest versions of those modules? Well, there is no easy way. You would need to have some automation that will inspect whether there are newer versions of the modules you use. There are some ideas about using Dependabot in GitHub to scan that particular GitHub repository and check for new versions and inform you about those. But whenever you bump the version in your bicep code from the AVM modules, you should always thoroughly test it, because some of the changes might be sort of breaking. So you need to make sure that you are fulfilling the contract requirements from that new major version of that AVM module. And then once you do that, once you sort of update that, you of course need to republish your module in that private registry to make sure that people can leverage it. And then the last thing I will mention before we open the Q&A is that, as I said, all the modules in the end of the day are nested deployments inside one huge, potentially huge ARM JSON file. And as you probably know, ARM API has certain limits when it comes to the size of the ARM template that you can send it to it. So there were some cases where in our project we hit that limit, and we had to do some clever workarounds to make sure that we don't hit it again. Things like size limits, that template, that file needs to be below, what was it, 4 megabytes? Resource definition, template size, 4 megabytes. So it needs to be below 4 megabyte size. And of course, in the sort of software engineering world, when you're consuming any public packages from NuGet or other places, depending on your software development language and framework, you think of it as a dependency. So there is this software supply chain question about security, but as long as you trust Microsoft and you can trust and validate because they publish those AVM modules openly, you can inspect that code, you can inspect and get maybe inspired about that testing framework they use and how they thoroughly test it. I think you have that, you can have that confidence, and you have support guaranteed for AVMs. So I will stop just by showing this last slide about the resources. So aka.ms/avm, that's the landing page for Azure Verified Modules. And if you haven't used Bicep before and you feel intrigued, then the second link is to a place in Microsoft Learn where you can start learning Bicep from the foundational to more advanced scenarios and topics. And the last link is pointing to the repository that I was demoing. So please feel free to explore and see how this could work. Okay. I think.
Yeah. Thank
Ready
you, David. Really, really cool overview. One question. What are the common pitfalls when mixing Azure Verified modules with organization-specific modules?
So I haven't come across many pitfalls because the AVM modules were specifically designed to be super flexible. So you don't find an AVM resource module that would have some kind of hard-coded values. They give you, like, they expose. If you think about a resource like a storage account, it has 15 properties. So they exposed majority of them to you. So you can still, when you're consuming that AVM module in your private module, you can still address all the properties, but you might want to deliberately hard code some standard that is internal to your organization in that private module. So either you abstract, so your consumers don't really need to think about all those properties like sizes and locations and everything, or you just want to make sure that they don't make silly mistakes and provide insecure configuration for those resources. So that's how you can shape those private modules in your own way based on your standards.
Yeah, thank you. So I think really, really impressive overview. Our next speaker is Aro Shukla. Secure your Copilot Studio deployments in nearly 9 minutes. I want to thank you, and we see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.